You are watching Big 12 now on ESPN+. Week 1 of the college football season finally running through Central Texas. And with that comes the rush of freshmen that represent the Baylor line, part of the pageantry of college football. It is 10th ranked Baylor against Albany. Welcome to Waco, folks. Pete Souza alongside three-time NFL Pro Bowler Chad Brown. A lot of high expectations, Chad, around this Baylor football team, but you lose 6 guys to the draft. You're going to have questions.
Well, you mentioned those 6 guys in the draft, but there's also 5 undrafted free agents who are at NFL camps this fall. It's a dearth of talent has left this building. 2,400 rushing yards in the running back room, 14 TDs in the running back room. We can see the wide receivers there that left this program as well. A total of 6 catches returning from last season's wide receiver room to this Baylor Bears football team. But before the Baylor faithful start to panic, there is a offensive line group up front that is veteran, that is tested. It's got a lot of preseason accolades and a ton of starts under their belt. They will carry this offense while those young guys get up to speed.
Well, now to the guy who is going to oversee that transition of power. For more on him, let's get down to the third member of our team, Shane Sparks.
Well, Blake Shapen last year started only 2 games, but of course, he was sensational in that Big 12 final win against Oklahoma State. But it's still 2 starts. He won the starting job in the spring, and one of the key storylines is how will he gel with this young receiving core? Talked to Coach Aranda. He said he's seen an increased leadership the past couple of months. That'll be critical as the season progresses. But as you said, Chad, they ran the ball down your throat last year. This season, with that big arm, a guy that can make all the throws, it could be an aerial assault in Waco in 2022 behind their quarterback, Blake Shapen.
Albany won the toss. They have elected to receive. High 80s here in Central Texas. A balmy 89 degrees, Chad. Not bad if you're the Albany Great Danes. Noah Rauschenberg powers that one out of bounds. Albany from the 25.
We get a chance to see this Baylor Bears defense to start the football game. Just like the offense, this defense, its strength is up front. They run too deep on that defensive line. They're going to rotate a number of guys in there. Those linebacker group is deep as well. There's a lot of new guys in that defensive backfield. They may be tested out there today.
Speaking of new guys, Reese Poffenbarger, transfer from Old Dominion. Coach Aranda calls him a gunslinger. He won a 4-way quarterback competition coming into camp. Todd Sibley in the backfield. His first carry as an Albany Great Dane. Short game. Coach Greg Gattuso says they won the battle of the portal. Guys like Todd Sibley coming in to town for Albany, and you get a look at the Great Dane starting lineup. Sibley, the running back. Julian Hicks, the big play wide receiver. Of course, we talked about Poffenbarger. Second and long for Albany. Short jab for Poffenbarger. Gets away from him. Devin Lemire is there. Pass intended for Green.
This Baylor defense has got a lot of studs in it, particularly on the first 2 levels. Gabe Hall, one of the defensive ends at 6'6", 296. Coaches called him a freak. They've got Dylan Doyle at that linebacker spot, kind of the quarterback out there. Coaches really trust his ability to get everyone lined up. And then again, as I talked about earlier, that secondary, working in a lot of young guys. Christian Morgan is expected to be a starter this season. He's out this game with a hamstring injury.
Third and 7, Poffenbarger. Pressure up the middle from Hall. He escapes it. Bangs his way to about the 34-yard line. Close to a first down. It'll be 4th and short.
Defensive coordinator Ron Roberts brought the middle linebacker that time, Dylan Doyle, on a blitz, bringing 5 guys and some pressure, forcing Poffenbarger out of the pocket. Getting him tackled just short of the line to gain there. This Baylor defense was great last year. Didn't allow any opponent over 30 yards all season long. really pride themselves in not giving up big plays.
Tyler Pastula in punt formation. Preseason All-CAA punter. Not the start Coach Greg Gattuso wanted, Chad. You're 3 and out, and then you got to delay a game.
And if you're Albany, it's going to be an uphill climb, even if you play great. But to have self-inflicted wounds when you make mistakes like that, coaches always say, if you make a penalty during the course of a play, hey, you're playing football. But pre-snap and post-snap penalties, those are kind of not excusable. You need to be more mentally sharp than that.
6-year season for Gavin Holmes. Fair catch. Baylor football after a 33-yard punt. Over the course of the offseason, Chad, Blake Shapen won a quarterback battle. Actually won it in spring. Gary Bohannon transfers. Here's one of the big reasons he won that job over the course of the spring. 17 straight completions in the Big 12 championship game against Oklahoma State last year.
Coaches love players who can make plays, but if you make plays in big games, I love you even more as a coach.
Offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes says he can make every throw on the field. Tay McWilliams over the 30-yard line. Nice chunk of gain there for Baylor. Chad, we heard yesterday the coaches talk to us about Blake Shapen and about how he's almost like Cool Hand Luke. Here's a guy given the keys to a potent offense, and he was ready to be the guy.
Well, Jeff Grimes, we said when he was going into the game last season for an injured Gary Bohannon, he was talking to him, and he's like, hey, are you alive? You still okay? I'm expecting a little bit more nerves from you. Blake Shapen was cool and calm under the pressure.
That's a guy we're going to talk about this afternoon. Anthony Lang bats it down on 2nd and short, 3rd down for Baylor.
Anthony Lang is probably the best guy up front for the Albany defense. 6'2", 242, so not massive from a defensive end perspective, but certainly has the athleticism and the physicality to play that position very well.
3rd and short for the Bears as we get a look at their starting lineup. That was Monterey Baldwin. McWilliams powers his way to a 1st down. Larry Walker Jr. in on that stop as we take a look at the Great Danes starting defense.
Talked about Anthony Lang a second ago. Also, Jackson Ambush is the one to watch. Number 43, the inside linebacker. Not only is a great player, but an awesome linebacker name. Ambush, I love it.
Shapen under duress floats it out to the left side. Pass is complete to freshman Seth Jones. That was a risky proposition, Chad.
Yeah, I liked your word use there. Float. That ball floated. When you're throwing from one hash to the opposite sideline, float should be part of your quarterback's repertoire. We need some zip on that football. If they were playing a Big 12 level opponent defensively, that could have been potentially picked off.
Jones, his first catch. Shotgun formation. Shapen to Quaylen Jones, his first carry of the season. 7-yard gain.
This offensive line is as advertised. They're big, they're physical, they're experienced. They got a ton of starts under their belts. And so far, 3 rushing attempts by the Baylor Bears offense. And they're getting tremendous movement against that Albany defensive front.
Jackson Ambush on the tackle. 2nd and 3 for Baylor. Quaylen Jones is the running back. Pistol formation. Play action. Shapen looks down the field. He throws down the field. He's got Monterey Baldwin. Bears got a touchdown. 47 yards.
We talked about the play action pass with offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes yesterday. When you run the ball as well as Baylor did last year, it just makes sense for the play action pass to be a major part of your passing game. Big strike play there by Blake Shapen off the play action pass. Freezes the secondary for the Albany Great Danes. He puts up a tremendous ball, allows the receiver to run underneath it for the first Baylor Bears score of the game. This team that was so ground focused last year, I expect to see more explosive plays in the passing game like that this year.
Coach Jeff Grimes said that Monterey Baldwin had that elite speed and those great ball skills. And he was going to give them a lot of opportunities today. We just saw the first one, a big play. Inside of 11 minutes, Baylor gets the big play off the top. They lead 7-0. Back in Waco, 7-0 Baylor. We saw Monterey Baldwin put a cap on last season with a 46-yard touchdown, his first in the Sugar Bowl. Another big play, this time 47 yards, Chad.
Just outran the Albany secondary off the play action fake by Blake Shapen. Again, play action, when you run the ball well, defenders are taught from the time they start playing football at Pop Warner or Little League. When you see runs step forward, that time they caught the Great Dane stepping forward, got right behind him for the big touchdown play. Again, they want that to be a bigger part of this offense this year. The explosive passing game, and not just be so reliant upon the run.
Out of play once again for Rauschenberg. 6 plays, 76 yards in 2:20. Oh, by the way, Blake Shapen, 2 for 3, 57 yards and a touchdown early.
If you're Albany, at this point, you know, last time I checked, there's no grand slams in football. You do one first down at a time. You have one scoring drive at a time. They've got to try to find a way to get a first down, create some rhythm to their offense.
That is an uphill climb with this big-time Baylor front. Poffenbarger keeps it, finds some running room, slides across the 32-yard line. 6-yard gain. Chad, how do you do this? I mean, you've got this huge front. They did a nice job of clearing the way.
You got to have some trickeration right there. That time Poffenbarger with the nice ball handling skills. You saw that linebacker shooting through there to tackle the runner. Poffenbarger pulls that out, picks up a nice gain there on first down. So some kind of trickeration. It's also early in the season, despite it being a better opponent in the Baylor Bears. It's early in the season. Not all those Baylor defenders are going to have their eyes where they need to be.
Play is blown dead. We saw Will Williams fly through and miss the tackle. He was sold on that fake. As a former linebacker, you got to be so juiced up for week one. Sometimes maybe you're overshooting the mark a little bit out of the gate.
I think you are. You want to go out. It's difficult when you're going against your team all the time in practice. You want to compete, but you also have to respect your team and not try to go too hard. So now this first opportunity with a different colored jersey in front of you, yeah, maybe you turn up your volume a little too high there and you don't read your keys, as we saw in that last play.
After the game, Albany backed up. Kevin Singer jumped off sides. Poffenbarger floats it out to the left side. Had a man. Quinn Zanoble off the fingertips. Mark Milton in coverage.
Good coverage by him. Yeah, he had a step on Milton. Milton closed the ground. Poffenbarger's got to get a little bit more loft under that throw to give Zanoble a chance to run underneath that.
If you're going to stay in this game, those are opportunities you've got to take advantage of.
I've got a football acronym for those moments. MOBP, missed opportunity for big plays. You're going to get 4 or 5 opportunities a game, offensively, defensively. The team that connects on those big opportunities is usually the team that wins.
Head coach Greg Gattuso with his team in another 3rd and long. Whistle again, play blown dead. 2 penalties so far on the season for Albany.
Timeout.
More
Albany,
penalties than first downs, 2-0. Albany calls timeout. Baylor 7-0.
Did I tell you I bought our car from Carvana?
Yeah, Ma.
It was so easy. I found the perfect car.
Under budget, too.
And I get 7 days to love it or my money back.
I love it.
I thought online meant no one to help me. But Susan from Carvana had all the answers.
Back here in Waco, Baylor leading at 7-0. The Albany quarterback, Reese Poffenbarger, he had some tragedy when his younger brother, who was 4 years old back in March of 2010, tragically died in an ATV accident on the family property. He's got a tattoo It's him at the base watching his brother make the stairway up to heaven. He said he thinks about his brother all the time. He was an athlete. He had big dreams. He's playing for both those guys. Pete.
Thanks a lot, Shane. He throws a strike with his right arm. Ball pops loose. Baylor football. Jackson Parker lost the handle, and the Bears come up with it.
And a fumble recovered by the defense. First down.
You want to be a great defense, you got to find a way to go out there and make plays. Taking the ball away from your opponent. When they're held up on the tackle, the second guy, third guy coming there trying to strip that football away. That time it was the trail rose on the reception. And then Bryson Jackson coming in, stripping that football out. The second guy there, popped that football out. Nice play. This Baylor Bear defense, they're swarming, they're aggressive, they're physical, but they're also playmakers.
Yeah, Parker basically held up there by Milton, and ball recovered by Bryson Jackson. So that's the 23rd straight game, Chad, Baylor's defense has forced a turnover. Shapen looking to win sudden change. Eludes a tackler. Ben Sims, his first catch of the season, but the flag is down around the 40-yard line.
See what this flag is. Ben Sims is the leading returning receiver.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 43, defense. Half the distance to the goal line. Automatic first down.
Coach Jeff Grimes told us he was a little worried about ambush, hitting guys in the mouth. Right there, he did it after the whistle.
Get a little frustrated when you're trying to make some plays against a superior opponent, and that frustration that time boiled over with the late hit on the quarterback there.
1st and 10 from a shade outside of the 10-yard line. McWilliams held up in the backfield. Larry Walker makes the play.
Nice shoestring tackle by Larry Walker, also called a cheetah tackle. You know, the cheetahs don't pounce on their opponent, on their prey's back. They trip them up by their feet. That time, Larry Walker getting down on the ground and make that tackle. Again, this offensive line from Baylor is having their way with that front for the Albany Great Danes. Movement off the line, creating holes and separation.
On the ground, McWilliams across the 5.
That run was led by Connor Galvin. Connor Galvin, 26 consecutive starts right there at the left tackle spot. We'll see him make a block on the first level and then get a push there on the second level. 44 games played for the Baylor Bears. Only 3 quarterback pressures given up all last year. That's pretty darn good.
Keeping the pocket clean, keeping his quarterbacks clean. And on 3rd down, the offensive line will try to do it again. Sims in motion. Squirrel Williams takes the toss over the left side. Squirrel into the end zone. Touchdown, Baylor.
Squirrel, another fantastic, very appropriate football name because he's small but mighty. It's like a tough little squirrel out there. Gets himself into the end zone. Connor Galvin leading the way on that run as well, taking 2 Albany defenders with him into the end zone. So much skill and power. Connor Galvin on the defensive back right there. No match at all. Squirrel's able to get inside the pylon for the touchdown. Albany's got to get a little bit more aggressive on defense. Try to create some havoc with the blocking schemes for Baylor right now. They're having no success dealing with them from a one-on-one physical matchup standpoint.
They're going to take another look at it. And we'll take another look at it. Replay official, Don Capral. We'll talk it over with your referee, Kevin Boitman. Come on, man. Nothing to yawn about here. It's exciting.
There's Squirrel Williams. That left foot is in right there. Ooh, that's tricky. Where's the ball when that right foot hits the sideline there? kind of difficult tell from that behind angle. We'll see if we get a better view from this side angle here. Can't see where his foot is. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have a good enough view on that. Again, that left foot is in right there at the 2-yard line, but when that right foot comes down right inside the pylon, the question becomes, where is the football in relation to the goal line at that moment?
Samaj Brown and Christian Lewis on the scene for Albany.
Now, anything can happen. There could be a bad center quarterback exchange, a bad quarterback running back exchange. But the way that Baylor's been running the football, it seems like it'll be another touchdown.
After further review, the ruling in the field stands. Touchdown.
There we go. Apparently that ball was over the goal line when that right foot came down out of bounds. A play action touchdown for the Baylor Bears, a run touchdown for the Baylor Bears.
Coach Grimes told us, offensive coordinator, it starts with the run. And today that has been the case as we look at head coach Dave Aranda.
How impressive was Coach Aranda at our production meetings?
I'm going to show up next Friday, and they're going to turn me away. I'm going to be looking for therapy again. Because we sat with him for about 45 minutes, Chad, and the guy is next level. He kind of takes you into the fourth dimension with him.
Yeah, we talked for almost 25 minutes before we got onto football. You know? Yeah, very impressive guy. Well-coached football team. All of his assistants love him. Players love him as well. Dave Aranda's got something going here in Baylor.
As a former player, you mentioned a guy like that speaks to you, speaks to the modern player, the guy who's evolved.
Well, he said we recruit the person, not the player. And when a coach shows you that he loves you as a person, cares for you as a person, it ironically tends to bring out the best of you as a player. So he and his staff have tapped into a more modern way of approaching the players that I think shows the players a lot more respect, a lot care for them outside of what they are as football players. And for the last 2 seasons, it has showed up in tremendous ways for the Baylor Bears on the football field.
Defensive coordinator Ron Roberts, who hired Dave Aranda to coach for him at Delta State in 2007, said, hey, he has broken the stereotypes on coaching in Power 5 conferences. Rauschenberg gives it a ride. LaSalle Rose bangs his way to the 18-yard line. What are you looking for from Albany on this possession, Chad?
Man, they need to maybe not dive into the trick plays, but we saw the quarterback zone play earlier where they were able to fool the Baylor Bears defense to pick up a nice game. Something like that, where it's within your base wheelhouse that you can ask your players to execute, but could, fool a player from Baylor who may be new out there having his first start. Maybe his keys aren't right, maybe his eyes aren't in the right place. But as far as him winning the one-on-one matchups physically, I haven't seen that happen so far.
Poffenbarger underneath for target Thomas Greeny. That ball is knocked away, and a big reason why. Right there, Jackie Marshall.
Ron Roberts brings Al Walcott as on a cornerback, nickelback blitz off the backside there. Poffenbarger barely gets that football off, but gets the hit. Ball's not so accurately delivered. Defender for the Baylor Bears is right there. Another incompletion for the Albany Great Danes.
Poffenbarger to his left, throws with his right. Pass is completed to Brevin Easton, who was thrown out of bounds by Al Walcott. First completion of the day for Poffenbarger.
Jared Ambrose, offensive coordinator, moved the pocket with that last run. I think he's recognizing if I keep my quarterback in the pocket, they're going to have enough blitz package to be able to get to him even if we block up their front three. That time moves the pocket, buys his quarterback a little bit of time. Hence, first completion of the ball game for the Great Danes.
And he talked to us about that. He said, I got to keep this front, they're big guys, on the move, wear them down a little bit, give us a chance to have time to throw the football. Third and 7. Poffenbarger with time and with room. Tried to run for the first down. Couldn't get it done. Tackle is made right there.
Oh, I think they
will move the chains.
Moving the chains.
Matt Jones on the stop. First down.
That's also the nice thing when you have your quarterback roll the pocket. It gives him a run-pass option. Obviously, you want to throw the ball down the field, keep your quarterback safe. But if nothing's downfield, tuck it and run away. Picks up the first down. Nice decision by Poffenbarger.
First down of the evening for you, Albany. Lopez Quinones, his first carry of the game, just the 4th of his career, is pushed back by Dylan Doyle on the Baylor D.
Kind of ran into a bit of a brick wall there. Brandon Utley was the primary brick in that wall. In that Baylor Bears defensive front.
Sibley is a running back on 2nd and 7. Shotgun formation for Poffenbarger. Floats it down the left sideline. Pass was intended for Brevin Easton, nowhere near him.
Dylan Doyle on that linebacker blitz. He's come free a couple of times. He gets his body and hands in the vision of Poffenbarger. Poffenbarger's kind of thrown out of a well, just throws that up, hopes the receiver can run underneath it. The Albany offense, the Albany offensive line, the scheme itself is yet to find a real answer for either the blitzes from defensive coordinator Ron Roberts or just winning the one-on-one battles. This defensive front for the Bears is just talented, big, tough, physical.
Sibley flanks out to the right side. Albany 1 of 3 on 3rd downs. Now they are 1 of 4 as that one is out of reach for Thomas Greene.
Thomas Greene is the player who may present the best mismatch opportunity for the Albany Bears on offense. Coach Dave Aranda mentioned that a couple of times in our production meeting and various press conferences heading up to this game. So Thomas Greene at 6'5", 255, got some wheels, can run as a tight end. You get him matched up on one of those Baylor Bear linebackers, that could be a win for the Albany offense. Yet to make that connection, but I'm sure they're going to go back to that as the game goes along.
Wobbly kick from Pastua. Gavin Holmes steps out of a tackle across the 50. Gavin Holmes, the 6th-year senior, into the end zone. 73 yards.
Gavin Holmes, wearing number 6, the 6th-year senior, returns the punt for 6. How about that?
What a great story he is. Has missed a handful of seasons as we got Poffenbarger down off camera. Let's get another look at this. We talked about Holmes. The 6-year senior has missed 3 seasons with injuries. Just a guy that everybody in Central Texas and at Baylor is pulling for. And oh, by the way, if he's out there and he's healthy, he's got some skill and he's got some breakaway speed too.
Really nice return. Sometimes the biggest difference between the levels of football is on the offensive and defensive lines, which we've seen so far out there today, but also on these special teams. You know, the guys running, covering kicks, returning kicks for Baylor were, all-stars in high school. 2 or 3 4-star recruits. Not the case for the Albany special teams. And he shows up right there with that punt return.
.537 left. Baylor with a commanding 21-0 lead. They're doing it with defense, they've done it with offense, and Gavin Holmes from Justin, Texas does it with special teams. Baylor up 21-0. Fans on the berm happy this afternoon so far. This season, you don't have to wait for weekends to get your Big 12 fix on. Introducing the Big 12 Football Weekly Show presented by Old Trafford Beef Jerky. It features highlights, breakdowns, and special guests. If you're a Big 12 fan, it's a can't miss. The hour-long show will be available at 7 p.m. Central every Wednesday throughout the season, and you can only watch it on Big 12 Now on ESPN+. Good crowd here at McLean Stadium for the opener.
Little housekeeping note here. That was not Poffenberger injured on the punt return. That was Larry Walker Jr. That college football thing of doubling up numbers happens to you sometimes.
LaSalle Rose calls for the fair catch. And they're going to need Larry Walker Jr. out there on defense. One of the more aggressive, intense guys on that unit. Great Danes will need him.
Now, there was a four-way, a quad quarterback battle during camp for Albany. So I would not be surprised if we saw a couple of quarterbacks as the game went along.
Poffenbarger back in there. Lines up with Sibley behind him. Coach Gattuso told us the four-way quarterback competition, he wanted everybody to have a shot to work in with the first unit. So he said he had a putt-putt competition in the football offenses. And the guy who had it closest to the hole, the guys would run snaps with the first team. Poffenbarger and Zalkowski were the two.
Run up the middle, and that was Big Gabe Hall, who they called a freak. There's some guys on this defensive front unit, Siaki Ika, who gets a lot of the publicity and the attention. They said Gabe Hall is an underrated guy, and a freak, but in a good way from an athletic standpoint.
You clarified.
Not the other kind of way, but at 6'6", 295, he is a force in the middle and has not been moved yet by the Albany offensive line.
Second and long. Poffenbarger keeps it, and he is belted. Devin Neal comes up, stepping in to replace Christian Morgan tonight, who's out with a hamstring. Lays the wood on Poffenbarger after a 6-yard gain.
I'm not sure what it is about quarterbacks, because as a defender, it's not that you just dislike them. Well, when a quarterback has this ball in his hand, you want to give him a little something extra. And that time, Devin Neal did just that. A little something extra.
A little more English.
Yes.
Another third down for the Great Danes. Trips to the bottom of your screen. Poffenbarger is crushed as he throws by Galvin and Dylan Doyle.
Six guys lined up on that defensive front. Dylan Doyle comes in free. Cole Maxwell from the backside there for the Baylor Bears. They might need another quarterback in there just to keep Poffenbarger healthy. So far, there's been a number of hits and unblocked defenders coming at him.
Tyler Pastula, who's seen a lot of work so far today. Shows exactly why he is preseason All-CAA. But coming off a 72-yard punt return for a touchdown. Holmes close to the 40-yard line. Flag is down.
There was some contact with Pastula once he gets this punt off. A little shoulder contact. Then we get a little European-style soccer acting there by Tyler Pastula.
Number 44.
Jalen Ellis, the wide receiver who was not on the depth chart playing special teams. So they didn't call this. This is Ellis banging into Pastula, but they did call a hold.
Now, Ellis was shoved by an Albany player back into the punches. So I think they were given a little grace because of that shove aspect in there. If you are pushed into the punter by a blocker, that creates a little bit of a gray area for those guys in the black and white striped shirts.
Coach Greg Gattuso, former police officer outside of Pittsburgh, giving the officials an earful there. Shapen swings it to the right side. McWilliams dances to the 30-yard line and steps out of bounds. Run out by Dylan Kelly. Colorful guy, Greg Gattuso. Still upset, Chad, but he's the kind of guy. He said he's not. He's like you. He's not a rah-rah guy.
No.
He's a self-motivator, and you said you could relate to that.
I can't. There's a certain old school football aspect to him. There's also a certain grandfatherly love to him as well. I think as a player, I could appreciate that.
In his 9th season in the Capital Region at Albany, went to the playoffs in 2019. Squirrel Williams. Close to a first down, run out by Jackson Ambush, 4-yard gain.
Once again, that offensive line just continues to create movement against that Albany defensive front. We're starting to see Albany defenders with hands on their hips. That's another thing about the lower levels of football. With the lower scholarship limits, you're just not going to have as much depth. So not only are you not as big and as strong and as physical, but at some point when those guys get tired, you bring in another guy in the game who's not also up to the standards of this level of play.
Dylan Doyle in at fullback. Tried to clear the way for McWilliams, but knifing through the line of scrimmage was Jackson Ambush. Big play on 3rd down.
Jackson Ambush trying to leave the field to get a replacement in there. You see him knife through there in between that guard center gap. Gets a nice tackle there at the feet of the Baylor Bear runner. He's nicked up. Well, looks like he's still going to stay in the game there, but
Albany,
if he's out the game, he's got a little bit of a limp as he's walking to the sideline with the Albany timeout. He's a player that at least can afford to lose defensively.
Albany calls a timeout. Coach Gattuso trying to rally his troops. Only the 3rd coach in the history at Albany. We told you, or you told us, it was kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You had Chuck Noll, you had Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, and Mike Tomlin from the same conference as Albany. There's a lot of great pros from that conference. So it's, as much as I have highlighted the difference between where Albany is and where Baylor is as far as programs, at the same time, that conference has produced some really quality players.
Howie Long, you mentioned, out of Villanova.
Yes.
Sean Barber out of Richmond. Two tight ends in motion in Johnson and Dabney. Doyle in the backfield once again. McWilliams hit behind the line of scrimmage, and he is finished off. Elijah Hills with the big play. Turnover on downs.
It was A.J. Simon who got the initial penetration. The coach at Rand talked about this. Once you start having some success against this Albany defensive front, they'll start slanting and creating some movement. That drive right there, it was that movement by the defensive front, a coaching move by Joe Bernard, the defensive coordinator, to create some confusion with that Baylor's offensive line. Nice stop by the Albany D.
Called a shocking stop. Sibley in the backfield, shotgun formation as we get back to action. We take one more look at it. Nice penetration by the Great Danes. Now we're back to action. And Sibley across the 30-yard line, not much, gain of 1.
Even if the run game isn't necessarily working for Albany, it will open up the play action pass when they decide to go to that. So you can't ever fully abandon the run unless you're just way far behind. You've got to get those defenders leaning forward, taking that step forward so you get a play action pass and kind of bomb behind them.
And as you get closer to the red zone, Poffenbarger's a threat to run and throw, and Sibley, who lines up alongside him, can bang his way to production. He can run you over. He can also run away from you. 2nd and 9. Sibley, the pit transfer. Run out of bounds by Devin Neal.
Good size on Sibley, 5'9", 227. Showed his wheels right there getting around the edge of that Baylor Bear defense.
We were talking about Coach Gattuso just a minute ago. He said they won the battle of the transfer portal with getting guys like Sibley, and that's not even ability-wise. He said Sibley has helped with the integration to kind of get into the culture that is Albany. You got a lot of transfers, Chad. It might take a little while to build the chemistry. 3rd and 5. Pressure off the edge from T.J. Franklin. Poffenbarger crosses the field. First down into the red zone. And the drive continues. A.J. McCarty on the stop after a long 6-yard gain.
I love the situational awareness of Poffenbarger. Once he picks up the first down, the next Baylor Bear defender coming on him, slide down, keep himself safe, live to find another play. Smart play by Poffenbarger. Athletic as well. Kind of weaving his way through a couple of Baylor Bear defenders there.
It's in his blood, too. His mom played basketball at Missouri. His sister, Sailor, played at the University of Arkansas after transferring from UConn.
She also played for Team USA.
Fade pattern. Poffenbarger finds Hicks. Touchdown, Great Dane. 17-yard strike. Are they back in it?
It's a bit of a loaded question, but they got themselves a touchdown. That was a tremendous ball by Poffenbarger. And a really nice job by Julian Hicks running underneath that. When you run that route, that fade route into the end zone, you've got to give yourself some space so you can continue to fade as that ball's in the air. Hicks did just that. Poffenbarger delivered a very accurate ball to the back corner of the end zone. We'll see here on the replay. Nice job by Hicks securing that football, getting those feet down in the end zone. Hey, Albany's on the board. It's what they wanted.
4 plays, 30 yards, 2:14 on the time of the drive. Snacks Johnson, we saw him victimized right there.
The end of the first
just moved to quarterback. And there is the Great Dane quarterback, Reese Poffenbarger, trying to keep his team in it. End of the first quarter. Baylor running wild so far, but Great Dane's back in it. The pageantry of college football continues here from Central Texas when we come back. Albany is on the board, Chad. If you would have told me 5 minutes ago that Reese Poffenbarger would be walking around the quarter break with a lot of swagger, I would have told you no way. But he's got 3 of 9 on the day completion-wise. Is 22 yards, but the big touchdown showing some touch into the end zone to Julian Hicks.
Let's not forget the Albany D got the stop, gave the offense the short field. So a good defensive series for the Great Danes defensively. It followed up with a nice strike to the end zone by Poffenbarger offensively. A little bit of momentum developing for the Great Danes.
Let's take one more look at the Great Danes' big touchdown. Poffenbarger unloading. You see Snacks Johnson there in coverage. A great gab by Julian Hicks.
Very accurately delivered football. The timing was good. The route was great. Gave himself some space.
Get a look at his counterpart, Blake Shapen.
Shapen 4 for 5 so far. 69 yards on the afternoon. The 1 TD throw earlier in the first quarter.
Play action. Shapen with time. Pass is complete to the freshman Armani Winfield. First catch of his career for 6 yards.
Shapen had Seth Jones down the middle of the field. Saw that safety come over late. Made the right decision to go to the shorter throw to Winfield. Again, a quarterback going through his progressions. Taking what the defense gives him. Smart play by Shapen.
And the type of moxie that earned him this job.
You can't be a gunslinger all the time. There's times you pull it out. There's times you take what the defense gives you. That time Shapen took what the Great Danes allowed him to do there.
Baldwin in motion. Jet sweep. Wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage by Anthony Lang.
Anthony Lang not fooled at all. If they don't block you as a defender, there's a reason why they don't block you. Typically it's because they're trying to fool you. That time Anthony Lane has his antenna firmly up. I'm not blocked. Jet sweep reverse. Something must be coming. Gets the nice TFL with his antenna all fully extended there.
6'2", 242. Native of Jamaica, Queens, in New York City. Rushes the passer with speed and power. We just saw some burst right there against the run. Shapen swings it to McWilliams. Across the 40-yard line, A.J. Missler shoved him out of bounds and eventually got it done, 9 yards.
McWilliams thought to be the bell cow, most likely bell cow back for this season. Definitely we'll see a number of running backs as we have already this ball game. But of all the backs, he was the one they mentioned in all the preseason reports. Need to work on his receiving game. Looked pretty natural right there with that catch, forcing the missed tackle, turning upfield for a few extra yards.
Empty backfield on 3rd down. Shapen right down the middle. This time Monterey Baldwin has the catch and the 1st down across the 45 into Great Dane territory. 16 yards.
Another nicely delivered ball by Shapen. A little crossing route by Baldwin. Shapen again going through his progressions, giving his receivers a chance to catch that football. Not every ball needs to be delivered with the same velocity, the same ferocity. We saw a number of different throws from him. We've seen some floaters, we've seen some zip balls. That one was well placed. Shapen 7 of 8 so far in this ball game. Looking very, very sharp.
McWilliams looking to cut through the Albany defense. Wrapped up by Isaac Duffy after a 6-yard gain.
McWilliams had 181 yards last season, but he did have 9 runs and then 181 yards, or 10 yards plus, and 5 broken tackles. We've seen some of that ability on display out here today.
Second and short, pistol formation. Through the air. Shapen into the end zone. Wide open for the touchdown is Hal Presley. 38 yards. Baylor pads the lead.
Play action pass once again. Catches those safeties looking in the backfield to defend the run game. And then Shapen delivers an absolute dime to the back of the end zone there. Kind of right on top of that Baylor bare face in the end zone. You see the play action pass, buys himself some time in the pocket, sees Presley going across the field, and then look at this throw. Bang! Right there at the back of the end zone on top of the bear. A beautiful, beautiful throw. Great dime by Shapen.
We have seen pinpoint accuracy and we have seen velocity. Blake Shapen, so far, all he's cracked up to be, Chad.
There was some concern, you know, how would he be the guy? It's one thing when you come in as a relief pitcher, but when you have the guy, you have all the expectations, shouldering expectations well, delivering and leading his team to another touchdown. Great throw by Blake Shapen.
Okay, can I get some Shapen stats and some McWilliams stats just when we come back? Thanks. Plain Stadium, Blake Shapen handed the keys to the offense at the end of spring ball, and he has put the pedal to the metal today. 8 of 9, 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. Chad, a lot of big plays for this Baylor football team so far.
Well, those 2 touchdowns, one was a 47-yard pass to Baldwin, and then we're just looking at the replay of the 38-yard pass to Presley. Accuracy, timing, delivering the ball in the end zone where his guys can get it. I have been very, very impressed. We knew the Baylor Bears would be able to run the football. We knew that was going to be the case because of the returning offensive linemen. And they relied on the run so much last year. But now there's going to be an explosive element to the offense with Shapen. And definitely the deep ball off the play action passes is something that all future Baylor opponents will have to be worried about.
Taking it out of the end zone is Rose, and he is wrapped up at the 13-yard line. Nowhere to go.
It's the second time Rose brought the ball out of the end zone and did not get back to the 20-yard line. Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor there.
Reese Poffenbarger back on the field. 3 of 9 so far on the day with 22 yards and 1 touchdown. Has faced a lot of pressure, has shown the ability to be cool, calm, and collective, but he's going to have to show a lot more of that if he's going to get his team back in this football game. Play is blown dead. Referee Kevin Boitman coming with the update.
Game on the defense completed their matchup late. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
How does that happen, Chad?
It was delay of game. What was the other explanation to that?
I just heard delay of game on the defense, and now we're looking at Will Williams, maybe late to getting onto the field. Late substitution.
There we go. Yeah, you got to know. First game, you're working those things out. What package is on the field, who's on, who's off. I would expect to see that a couple of times here in game one.
Poffenbarger on the run there. Run out of bounds by Jackie Marshall. 5-yard gain. Inside of 12 minutes, 28-7, Baylor leads. Pete Souza alongside Chad Brown. Shane Sparks on the sideline. Todd Sibley in the backfield for Albany. Shotgun formation alongside Reese Poffenbarger. Second and short for the Great Danes. Poffenbarger zips it to his tight end, Thomas Greeny. And they've got another first down, and Greeny, the sure-handed playmaker, with the reception. Mark Milton on the stop.
They get Greeny lined up wide, and as I mentioned earlier, he's in mismatch for those smaller defenders. This time running the slant route shows his athleticism, creates a little separation for himself as well. Of all the players on the Albany offense, he was the one that Coach Aranda was most concerned about, just simply because that size-speed ratio. You put him against a linebacker, he's too fast. You put him against a smaller DB, he can run right past him like he done that last play there.
Empty backfield for Poffenbarger. Slowly finding a rhythm. Tries to escape the pocket. Too much going on there. Cole Maxwell and Gabe Hall shut him down.
Also, Jackson Player was in there as well. Jackson Player being the transfer from Tulsa. He gives them a tremendous versatility. Player had 100 snaps last year at Tulsa as nose guard, defensive tackle, and as an edge player as well.
Local kid from right down the road, Midway High School, grew up watching Baylor. Says he gets a lot of ticket requests, and when asked how he handles that, he said, if you came to see me in Tulsa, you can come to see me at Baylor.
That's the right answer. I love it.
Second and long. Sibley runs into more trouble. Another flag down.
Well, that's going to be holding, I believe. One of the offensive linemen for Albany. Player got such great penetration into the backfield.
Too many penalties so far for the Great Danes, a team that comes in here as such a substantial underdog.
Be third down.
We'll see players shoot the gap, get into the backfield there with the rip move. Tremendous quickness for a man his size. 6 feet, 300 pounds. Plays with great leverage. And we just saw his quickness on display. Usually don't hear a guy 300 pounds be called twitchy, but they described him as twitchy, the coaching staff did.
Holding penalty was declined. 3rd and 14 for the Great Danes. Baylor defense set to pin its ears back. Poffenbarger. Ball batted away by Gabe Hall. Getting freaky.
Looks like the Baylor Bears had a team meeting in the Albany backfield there. Pocket collapsing around Poffenbarger. Big Gabe Hall gets one of those big paws up in the air, swats that ball down. Another good series for the Bears defense. You see Gabe Hall get between that guard and tackle gap and then get that hand up in the air there. Such a massive physical presence is Gabe Hall.
Pastula set to kick it away. Holmes awaits. Will let it roll. Bounces at the 34-yard line. Takes an Albany bounce inside the 20-yard line. So we'll come back with the Great Danes with an opportunity to try to cut into this league. Coach Greg Gattuso looking forward to the opportunity. 28-7 Baylor. You want to talk about a gunslinger with a hot hand. You see Blake Shapen going to work. He is 8 of 9 today. In the conference title game against Oklahoma State, the Big 12 conference title game, he was 23 of 28. Over the course of his last 2 games, Chad Brown, 31 of 37 for 322 yards. He is feeling it.
He's absolutely been tremendous out there today. Going back to last season, Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State, he was 71%. So for the coaches, his success today has not been a surprise.
Calm under pressure. Finds Hal Presley. Presley's second catch of the day. Tackle made by Dylan Kelly, 7-yard gain.
Another accurate on-time football. Again, taking what this Great Danes defense has given them. They all don't have to be home runs. They all don't have to be spectacular plays.
9 of 10, 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. The best baseball player in the state of Louisiana coming out of high school. Throwing dimes today, playing quarterback. Quaylen Jones wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Shapen is down, and so are flags.
A.J. Missler comes off the backside of the Baylor offense, delivers a super late hit to Shapen. I think A.J. Missler is going to say, I was tackling him. I thought it may have been a
foul. Unnecessary roughness with targeting. Number 41, defense. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. The play is under further review.
I thought it was a bootleg, or he was, Shapen was keeping the football. We'll see him meet him right there in the backfield. Those are a little tricky as a defender. There's a little bit of a gray area. Does he have the ball? Does he not have the ball? Obviously, play action, bootleg is a part of this offense. But yeah, I mean, it looked as if Shapen had given that play up. Missler with the well-deserved flag.
Yeah, Chad, you sound like a guy who made a living playing defense and cracking skulls playing linebacker.
That play action pass, that bootleg stuff can be a little tricky. A lot of times the quarterbacks will hide the ball. Put the ball on the hip, so as a defender, you can't see where that ball is. But Shapen appears to be giving himself up here. I think Missler had an opportunity to see he no longer had the football. So, yeah, that's. I'm happy to see Shapen get up and seem to be healthy after that necessary contact.
Officials reviewing it at McLean Stadium here. It nullifies a nice play by defensive end A.J. Simon. Ruling on the field as targeting. Let's get an update.
After further review, there was no foul for targeting on the play. Number 41 will not be disqualified. However, the 15-yard penalty for unnecessary roughness will be enforced. First down, Baylor.
And I don't say this as a former defender. I just say this as a lover of football. That call was accurate. Missler did not lead with his helmet. He did not hit Shapen in his helmet. Didn't appear to be any targeting aspect to it. Certainly deserved the flag for unnecessary roughness.
Shapen under center. Quaylen Jones is the running back. Play action. Shapen steps up. Nowhere to go. This time Simon gets it done, and it counts.
A.J. Simon showing some activity there. That run play 2 plays ago was moving and slanting. This time runs around the tight end. That was Drake Dabney, the tight end for Baylor, who couldn't stop Simon on that pass rush.
Quaylen Jones can't corral it. Shapen under pressure.
Is that ball tipped? Did it come out of his hand funny?
We'll have to get another look at it. I can tell you for sure that that was Simon once again.
I think it just came out of his hand funny. Almost trying to shot put that. Yeah, trying to almost shot put that. Flip it almost. To his running back.
3rd and 13 for Baylor. Seth Jones in motion. Bears 3 of 4 on 3rd down today. Shapen with time. Shoots it into the hands of Jones. In and out of the hands of Jones, we should say. 4th down coming up. Larry Walker on the scene.
small window where Shapen was trying to get that football through. He was a little late with that throw. If he leads Jones a little bit more, that linebacker has a chance to make an interception. He was a little bit behind Jones, trying to squeeze it in that window. But again, that pass needed to be delivered about a second or so earlier.
Jones looking for the first catch of his career. One of those wide receivers fighting for playing time. Power in punt formation. Brevin Easton calls for a fair catch at the 5-yard line. '58-yard kick. Coach Greg Gattuso, who was excited to make the trip to Waco, said he was going to meet Chip and Joanna. Can't love the outcome right now. More on their travel when we come back.
.28-7 midway through the second quarter. It's all Baylor. There's Coach Gattuso. The Great Danes making the trip from Albany, 1,700 miles. They chartered a flight 10 o'clock on Saturday morning. Pretty smooth travel. Got here at 1. Had a practice here at the stadium. Then they played top golf on Thursday night. Good team bonding activity. A walkthrough yesterday. And, of course, when you come to Texas, you better have some of that good Texas barbecue. They did that last night, and they'll charter a flight back home after this. They get a big game, their home opener against New Hampshire next Saturday. Pete?
All right, thanks a lot, Shane. Chad, that's a day early when you show up on Wednesday.
I like it when college coaches do that. When they try to take advantage of those opportunities. You get a chance to get away, spend some time really insular within your team. You grow together. You grow confidence in those kind of moments like that.
Do you find that sometimes that road trips early on in the season can actually build camaraderie?
I think they absolutely do. When it's kind of you and your band of brothers versus a whole stadium of the enemy fans, it brings you much closer together.
Julian Hicks playing right there. 20 yards for Name That Tune. Second big catch of Julian Hicks for today.
Another nice ball by Poffenberger, even under pressure. He takes the hit on the backside from Al Walcott.
Poffenberger put it on the money, but Walcott is there again.
Roy Alexander was the intended receiver. A little bit of a rushed, hurry throw by Poffenberger. Better defensive effort by the Baylor receiver, really close to Alexander. Couldn't corral that football.
Al Walcott moved to the star position in fall camp from cornerback. Poffenberger on the money again to Julian Hicks. Third catch for Hicks.
And that star position, for those who aren't aware what that lingo is, it's kind of a safety outside linebacker hybrid kind of guy. Gives you a little bit of advantage in the pass game. You get a smaller, more agile defender out there. But he's a guy who's also got enough size to be able to play the run if the opponent checks to a run because that smaller defender's in the ball game.
We saw Walcott on the tackle there. We also saw Julian Hicks with an opportunity possibly to run for the first down. Tiptoed out of bounds, so we've got third and short. I formation, Sibley. First down.
I think Albany has begun to settle down. Offensively, defensively, starting to settle down. Again, I don't expect him to suddenly blow the Bears off the field, but there's getting to get some rhythm to their offense. The quarterback is delivering some accurate footballs. They've tried a couple of things on the defensive side of the ball, slanting defensive line, getting penetration to the backfield. So I think the players and the coaches are starting to find their confidence.
Poffenberger on a roll. Jump ball for Quinn Zanoble. Can't bring it down. Nice play on defense right there by A.J. McCarty.
A.J. McCarty was right there, but Zanoble's a big guy at 6'2", 210. Trying to get a jump ball to him on the sideline. Fantastic job by McCarty. Not getting the pass interference. Sometimes you see young defenders, McCarty only being a sophomore, panic when the ball's in the air. Start reaching and grabbing. McCarty kept his eyes on Zanoble's eyes, puts an arm up in between there, bats that ball away.
2nd and 10, 7th play of the drive, longest drive of the day so far for Albany. Poffenbarger just behind Roy Alexander. We'll go to 3rd down. Could have been worse, Chad.
Could have been tipped up for an interception. So, yeah, very lucky to survive that play. Big 3rd down for the Great Danes defense, offense here. The ball was tipped, I think it looks like it was tipped twice, actually.
Jackson player for sure got a bit on it.
TJ Franklin may have gotten something on that as well.
The 2 local guys making an impact. 3rd and 10. Baylor crowd getting into it. Poffenbarger floats it. Nice grab by Quinn Zanoble, who climbs the ladder to bring it down.
Poffenbarger showing his playground football ability. Really nicely done. Not only does he escape the pocket, finds the receiver, directs the receiver where he wants him to go, and delivers a floater to him. Sets his receiver up for a big hit, but nice job by Zanoble holding on to that football.
Zanoble takes air, showing concentration. Big play. LaSalle Rose scampers out of bounds. Short gain for the Great Danes as they continue to move the football.
I'm Dave Aranda. I may want to call a timeout here just to get my defense going. They're lifeless out there. You know, we saw a lot more pop and zing and life from the Bears earlier in this ball game. Very listless at this time of the ball game.
And with the stoppage of play here.
Timeout for an injury.
Al Walcott leaves the field, talking to the Baylor Bears training staff on the sideline.
Defensive coordinator Ron Roberts doesn't want to see that. You've already got Christian Morgan sidelined because of a hamstring. Walcott has that big bandage on his right hand.
Christian Morgan did dress for today's game, but just not playing, trying to keep him healthy. I think for next week against BYU.
Yeah, showing some bounce in his step during warm-ups. I'm sure he wants to be out there. He'll wait his turn. Poffenbarger under pressure. Wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Alfonso Allen.
The true freshman, Alfonso Allen from Miami, Florida. He picked Baylor over Alabama, Clemson, Florida, Florida State, Oklahoma, USC, and Texas A&M. It's kind of a murderous road of the recruiting pattern. Makes the choice to come be a Baylor Bear. That time penetrates into the backfield once Poffenbarger escapes the pocket, and he does a nice job with the cheetah tackle down there low, so he can't get anywhere to get those feet out.
Coach Ron Roberts said he has made amazing progress since spring ball, the true freshman. Timeout on the field. Albany will spend their last one with 3:04 left in the first half. 3rd and 15 when we come back. Coach Greg Gattuso would love to cut this lead to 14. We'll find out if they can do it when we come back.
Seriously? Now there's a hole in your defense. Look at the size of that. Is that a goat?
You talking about me?
I think this goat is saying gap.
You must be talking about the expenses health insurance doesn't cover.
So who's talking about the money Aflac paid?
Defensive coordinator Ron Roberts was a head coach at Delta State University in 2007. He hired Dave Aranda as an assistant. He is returning the favor as Aranda's defensive coordinator here at Baylor. You look at some of the stats from last year, Chad, and so far so good for this Baylor defense today.
They've been really tremendous. They play a lot of guys, which is, I think, unusual for most programs to play 25 to 27 guys defensively in one ball game. But he said, how can our backups ever get good if they don't play? It's a pretty simple equation. Get them out there, get some experience.
He was proud to drop that number on us as we've got a penalty on the center. False start on Kobe Thomas. He said, hey, we played 27 guys on defense in the Sugar Bowl. He said, not many people know that.
Yeah, I think it's something to be proud of. And I think that's why they had one of the lowest transfer rates last year in the NCAA. When guys get a chance to play, feel like they're part of the team, they're less likely to look for greener pastures someplace else.
3rd and Austin for Poffenbarger in the gang. The quarterback spins his way to the 45-yard line, close to a first down, 8-yard gain. Fourth down coming up.
Did you say third Austin?
Third and Austin.
That's how far that was. Yes, Austin's about 100 miles away. That third down must have felt like 100 yards from Pfaffenberger.
It will be 30 seconds. The clock operator, please reset
timeout on the field.
2 minutes, 53
Chad, you mentioned earlier that maybe it's time for Coach Aranda to get a timeout to just get his team, who maybe looks out of sorts, kind of back in rhythm, and maybe that's what you just seen.
I think so. You know, sometimes as a young defense, to come to the sideline to get an idea of what to expect, maybe get a tip of, you know, what to look for, can make the difference between a successful play and a not successful play. So that brief conversation with the coaches can be extremely instrumental in stopping an offensive drive.
Tyler Pastula in punt formation. Coach Dave Aranda's team has forced another punt. Gavin Holmes waits deep. 28-7, Baylor leading Albany. 2:53 left in the second quarter. Ball caroms into the end zone. Touchback. With 2:44 left on the clock. Blake Shapen and the Bears have a chance at opening this one up before halftime.
2 timeouts left, plenty of time on the clock. And as a coach, you'd love to get your new quarterback, I'll call him new, versus last year, relatively only a couple starts under his belt, an opportunity to do a 2-minute drill under live action. And this is what he gets here to end the first half.
How important is that, Chad, in your experience as a former player, to have these 2-minute drill opportunities, to go into the locker room and come out, almost like a walkthrough of sorts at the highest level?
It's extremely important to develop your confidence, particularly when you have so many new guys out there like the Bears do in the receiver corps.
Speaking of that receiving corps, Monterey Baldwin tackled by Larry Walker, 6-yard gain.
I think when you do the 2-minute drill, there's an initial thinking of, we've got to hurry up, which creates panic, which creates indecisiveness, which creates sped up progressions from a quarterback, creates sped up footwork. Nice. Be the coolest, calmest person on the field. Take what the defense gives you. That's how you move the ball in a 2-minute drill.
Speaking of which, underneath the coverage, Shapen finds Ben Sims for his second catch. Stoppage of play. Albany player down. Elijah Ellis. Elijah Hills. Check that.
Looks like a cramp, judging by the way the training staff is dealing with him. Nice spin move to get a hit on Shapen. And you see him roll over and I think begin to grab a leg with a leg cramp. But it's much warmer here than it is in Albany, much more humid. So no surprise that the Albany players could be experiencing things like cramps.
And they've caught a break here, Chad. They said it was one of the hottest summers and into fall camp that they've had in Albany for much time. Joe Bernard told us that. And today, at kickoff, 89 degrees. That's as good as you'll get from a team from New York coming down to Central Texas to open up your football season. But you have called attention to the fact that we've seen a lot of guys tapping on their head, pulling on their jersey. They don't have the scholarships. They don't have the bodies. Guys need breaks, and we see a cramp right here.
The 2-minute period is tough on defenders, particularly pass rushers. There's typically going to be a number of pass plays in that period. The offense may go hurry up, so you don't have a lot of opportunity to rest in between plays. So here's where that lack of depth could show up again for Albany. A lot of times you, as a coach, will tell your player to just stay down so we can all rest. So we get the rest of the team a blow here, get some water into those guys as well.
(28-7), Baylor on the board, 4 touchdowns in the first half. That's something they have got to be happy to see. Offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes said, I've never had so many big guys back and so many little guys, talking about skilled guys, gone. 2 of those big guys he's talking about, both at the running back position.
Yeah, Ebner and Smith over 2,400 yards rushing together last season, 14 touchdowns in that running back room, and now in NFL training camp. So when you miss that kind of production in that room, you see the stats right there. Who's the next guy to step up? But luckily for the Baylor Bears, they've got a talented enough offensive line. They can take their time figuring out who's going to be that next bell cow.
Taquan Williams, possibly that guy. Takes a short pass from Shapen, pushed out of bounds by Dylan Kelly. McWilliams said that he actually keeps in touch with Smith. Kind of gives him, you know, a little bit of a tutorial and has helped him grow up as a man on and off the field.
Smith was huge last year for the Bears offensively. Set the single-season rushing record. Powered this run game. Tremendously physical runner.
Shapen on 2nd and long, gobbled up by the Albany defense. A.J. Simon, loss of 3.
Pocket kind of collapsed around him, but looked like he had some trouble handling that football. It was a pass rush game executed by the Great Danes. They were able to squeeze that pocket around Shapen. Again, I've been impressed with the fight that the Great Danes have shown here in the second quarter. Looks like they were getting blown off the field there in the first quarter, but they've shown a lot of fight offensively and defensively here in the second quarter.
Sims in motion as Albany has settled down. Simon screaming off the edge, can't get to Shapen, and Shapen finds Sims again. 3rd catch on the afternoon for the most productive tight end in Baylor history, 13 yards.
31 catches last year for 361 yards. Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator, also works with the tight ends, so he had a lot to say about that group. And he's really proud of what Ben Sims is, but also a lot of the young guys and the progress they've made during training camp this year.
Shapen checks down to Sims again. Tackled by Jackson Ambush, gain of 6.
Timeout. Baylor, their second of the half. It will be 30 seconds.
And Baylor will use its 2nd timeout as they move the football. Sims seems to have hurt his hand on that last reception.
Came up shaking it after the tackle. Doesn't look like he's seeking the attention of the training staff.
And you never want to see anyone ever get hurt, but you talk about Baylor's tight end room, and man, they have got a lot of depth there. So for this afternoon, if they do have to sit Sims, they'll be in good shape.
I think he's going to be fine. It's more just so a bang on the hand. Those gloves does have a little bit of thin padding on the top side of the hand. You can feel a little something through there, but generally does a pretty good job protecting you.
Sims back on the field. Shapen steps up. Shoots the ball across the middle. 4th catch of the afternoon for Monterey Baldwin. The drive continues inside the 35, 15-yard gain.
Nice job by Shapen stepping up into the pocket.
McWilliams out of bounds inside the 30.
Execution. Let's get the ball to our running back, head to the sideline, pick up a few yards, get him out of bounds, stop the clock. Understanding of the situations. This is what your young players should experience in these 2-minute drive situations.
24 seconds left on the clock. Baylor with 1 timeout. 2nd and 6 coming up. 4 wide receivers. Shapen 16 of 19 on the evening. 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. Changes the play. Pass complete to Hal Presley. Baylor on the football. 15 seconds left. Shapen skips out of the pocket across the 10, across the 5. And he is banged to the turf by Jackson Ambush. First down will stop the clock with 6 seconds left. And Coach Jeff Grimes will use that final timeout.
Timeout.
You do get that clock stoppage when they are resetting the change. So the 2-minute drill in college football can be a long period of time, actually. Here's Shapen escaping the pocket. Tricky to do in this kind of situation, not much time on the clock. You see him get sandwiched between the Great Dane defenders there. I'm sure Jeff Grimes will say, hey, young fella, I love the toughness, but next time try to slide.
That might be the one drawback of his game when you talk about Blake Shapen, is that he is a little too willing to roll the dice. Kind of turns back the clock and brings up memories of Charlie Brewer, who is starting today for Liberty. But he was a guy who endured a lot of physical contact, loved to tuck the ball and loved to run with it.
Your job as a quarterback is not to play on Saturday, it's to find a way to play every Saturday. And you can't play every Saturday if you get sandwiched between two defenders like that.
Think you can get 2 plays out of this, Chad?
Yeah, it's possible. Two fade balls to the end zone, certainly possible.
Shapen, empty backfield, 8 of 8 on this drive. On cue, floats it into the end zone, intended for the 6'3" Hal Presley. Flags everywhere. Samaj Brown likely to be the guilty party.
I love how defenders look around like, what are you talking about? How could that possibly be on me? Yes, that was you. You were the guy grabbing him, yes.
And they basically had to send the equipment manager out to pick up all the laundry.
The ball will be placed at the 2-yard line.
Seemed like every referee threw a flag there, so we'll go from the 2-yard line with 1 second left.
Correction, the ball was at the 2. We'll enforce it half the distance to the goal line.
Looks like they're going to leave
closer than that.
Shapen in there to go for the touchdown here. Not choosing to kick the field goal, not as if that would be important on the scoreboard. I think the opportunity to have this situational play is more important for Dave Miranda and his offensive staff.
Final play of the first half. McWilliams next to Shapen. Shapen going to keep it. Into the end zone. Touchdown.
They rolled Shapen out of the pocket to the right, gave him the pass-run option. Receivers are covered. You go ahead and take this corner and try to get downfield. Puts that ball inside the pylon. Nice job of him launching himself. Knowing what the rules are, that ball contacts inside the pylon, that is automatically a touchdown.
8 of 8 on the drive, and Shapen caps it off with a rushing touchdown. 2 quarterbacks or 2 touchdowns through the air, 1 touchdown on the ground. Replay official Don Caprell going to take another look at this, and for good reason, Chad.
That's a touchdown.
Maybe not.
That is a touchdown. He wasn't near the sideline with his feet, and we'll see him extend that ball into the end zone, but hit the inside of that pylon. That is a touchdown.
Junior Isaac Duffy for the Great Danes did everything in his power to keep Shapen out of the end zone.
We've had, what, 2 reviews, touchdowns for Baylor, and I think both of them will be confirmed as touchdowns. At least the one earlier was. I didn't see anything there that would make me think they would overturn that touchdown call on the field.
I'm with you. Referee Kevin Boitman communicating with replay official Don Caprell as we see one more look.
Yeah, his feet are nowhere near the sideline, so it's not a question of him stepping out.
And the former shortstop extending the left hand, showing some nice glove work.
Ball clearly inside the pylon.
You think they'll have a talk with him at the half, say, hey, if we're going to leave you in there, take it easy, all right? Like you said, it's about playing every Saturday, not just on Saturday.
Yeah, again, you want your quarterback to show some toughness, but he doesn't have to show it all the time. You don't have to show the crowd every week how tough you are.
Getting word from our truck here on the campus of Baylor University in Waco, Texas, outside of McLean Stadium. They're looking at his left toe, which you can't see. Ooh. You can see it now.
the toe certainly kicks up some of the ground-up tires they use to fill in these artificial fields. The toe was on the ground even after he launched himself, but did it drag out of bounds before he tapped that ball inside the pylon?
The ruling in the field stands. Touchdown.
Touchdown for Shapen is confirmed. And the gunslinger from Shreveport only given confirmation as far as his skills are concerned in this first game of the season. Hankins on for the extra point. That's a backbreaker for the Great Danes heading into halftime.
Baylor does get the football to start the second half. Coach Aranda gets a chance to double up.
3 touchdowns for Blake Shapen. 1 rushing, 2 passing. 8 of 8 on that drive. Baylor, like Chad said, set to relieve the second half kickoff. 35-7. Let's get it down to the third member of our crew, Shane Sparks.
All right, Coach Aranda, earlier this week you said one of the focuses was for this team to create an identity. What did you see in that first half that builds towards what you want to see with that identity?
Saw some composure. I saw some complementary football. If one side was struggling, I saw another side pick them up. And I saw also competitive maturity. I thought there's times where, we could have acted in such a way that's really not in accord with our standard, and I thought guys handled that well.
What impressed you most about your quarterback, Blake Shapen?
Sitting in there, taking hits, making tough throws, leadership, what he is and what he's saying in the huddle. I think all of that is just who he is. It's really cool for him to be able to be that.
Thank you much. Enjoy the second half. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach Dave Aranda looking more like a guy that just stepped out for a quart of milk than a guy that's a college football head coach here as we head into the half, Chad.
Tremendous first half of the Baylor Bears. They got it done offensively, defensively. One of the biggest question marks going into the season was Blake Shapen. He's been tremendous. 2 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run.
Football next Saturday on Big 12 now on ESPN+. 3 games for you, beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 Central. It's a conference matchup between Kansas and the Mountaineers of West Virginia. And at 6 Eastern, number 9, Oklahoma takes on Kent State. Welcome to the Norman. And finally, at 7 Eastern, it's an interstate matchup between Tarleton State and TCU. If you want to see all the action, sign up now at ESPNplus.com/Big12 now. 35-7 is the score. Baylor back on the field for more business here in the second half.
If I'm Coach Dave Aranda, I certainly will pass out some praise for that first half. I will also point out that low late in the second quarter, offensively and defensively. And then I would give out my expectations for the second half. Defensively, no more lapses, no more lows. And we've got to find a way to run the ball better and get some rhythm and continuity to our run game.
Tay McWilliams led the rushing attack with 21 yards. Craig Williams back deep. Squirrel with 1 touchdown today. John Opalka set to give it a ride. Third quarter underway. Short kick. Williams has it on the run to the 20, across the 30. He breaks free. Across midfield. There is a flag down. .46-yard return.
Holding number 20 on the return.
All for naught.
10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Coach Greg Gattuso breathing a sigh of relief right now. Shane Sparks caught up with him at halftime.
You had a chance to talk to Coach, and he said, when you're playing the 10th-ranked team in the country, you can't be giving up big plays. They give up that punt return, they turn the ball over, and, of course, those 2 big pass plays. He likes the effort. He goes, we're going toe-to-toe with these guys. That's all I can ask. I'm just hoping in the second half we play a little bit smarter, more disciplined, avoid the penalties, finish strong. Pete?
All right, thanks a lot, Shane. 9-yard gain for Quaylon Jones running downhill. Not exactly what Coach Gattuso wanted to see out of the locker room, Chad.
Not exactly at all. But I would have to agree with him. There has been good effort. I have yet to see the Great Danes not have great effort out there. Unfortunately, they are just overmatched. They're undersized. They're understarred as far as recruits go. It's just going to be an uphill climb against the 10th best team in the country.
Pistol formation. Jones again barrels his way to a first down. 3-yard gain. And the Great Danes have also shot themselves in the foot. 6 penalties for 42 yards. You can't do that on the road against the 10th ranked team in the country.
You definitely want to be, you have to be the cleaner playing team if you're facing an uphill battle like Albany is.
Empty backfield for Shapen, who was 17 of 20 on the early afternoon, we'll call it, early evening. 214 yards and 2 touchdowns. Checks and goes under center. Jones running through tacklers. A.J. Missler on the tackle after a 6-yard gain.
No surprise here to start the second half. 3 consecutive runs. That was definitely the weak point from a really promising first half by Baylor. Now coming out and trying to correct the record here in the second half and get this run game going.
5'10", 242 pounds. We saw Jones run over Jack Ambush, one of the better defenders. Richard Reese, the shifty freshman, back for 7 yards.
Now, we might not see a pass this entire drive. I think for Jeff Grimes and the offensive line, I'm sure they talked about, let's just come out and impose our will here in the second half and show people what we've got.
Showing a different running back look now. Squirrel Williams into the game. Tries to stay in bounds as he crosses the 50-yard line. Can't do it.
This is looking like those first couple of drives that Baylor had where they were kind of more focused on the ground, and those big offensive linemen were getting tremendous push and creating wide open holes for the Baylor runners, getting back to that more power style rather than the play-action passing that we saw probably halfway through the first quarter and most of the second quarter.
6th play of the drive. They've kept it on the ground so far. Baldwin in motion. Jet sweep again. Baldwin breaks free. At this point, it's all academic. Samaj Brown gave it his best effort but couldn't get it done. 2nd touchdown of the evening for Baldwin, this time 50 yards.
I don't want to make this touchdown about me, but I called it. They were not going to throw a pass this series. They were going to keep it all on the ground. They were going to impose their will. I can picture myself in that Baylor locker room and hearing Coach Aranda say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to start this half. We're going to impose our will, be the more physical team again. That's what they were in that drive.
Monterey Baldwin had 1 touchdown all of last year. It was a 46-yard play. Similar to that in the Sugar Bowl. He's got 2 so far tonight. 6 plays, 80 yards. All on the ground. Baylor up 42-7. Monterey Baldwin catching a breather. He needs it. Baylor with a commanding lead. Chad Brown, thanks in part to Monterey Baldwin and some big plays.
47-yard touchdown bomb in the first quarter. Monterey Baldwin, 2 TDs on the day. We see him on the jet sweep here. 50-yard TD run. Gets the edge, out races the Albany defense into the end zone. 130 total yards for him in a little over 2 quarters of play. A tremendous start to the 2022 season for Monterey Baldwin.
5'9", 164. About 30, 40 miles from home right now in Waco from Killeen, Texas. Rauschenberg drills that one out of bounds. Great Dane's going to try to stop the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding, chew up some clock, shorten this second half a little bit here. Obviously, the chances of them getting back in this ball game is none, but they need to find a way to move themselves forward. They've got an opponent next season. They've got things they need to work on. They've got things they need to improve on out here.
And it seems like Reese Poffenbarger will be the guy to move forward and help them do that. We mentioned a 4-way quarterback competition into the season. We knew we'd see, or we thought we'd see, we were told we'd see multiple quarterbacks. But Poffenbarger starts the 3rd quarter. No gain for Sibley.
I'd like to see a little bit more of that defense we saw early on from Baylor, where they were a little bit more swarming, a little bit more attacking rather than that lull they had in the 2nd quarter. I'm sure they got an earful from defensive coordinator Ron Roberts.
Julian Hicks pulls it down, showing nice hands. 7-yard gain.
Al Walcott is back out in the field in that star position for the Bears defense. He was banged up and had to leave the field in the first half.
Play fake to Sibley. Brevin Easton wrapped up by Snacks Johnson.
Nice open field tackle by Snacks. Early in the season, this is one of the more difficult things to do. A lot of times in training camp, NFL and college, there's very few full speed tackling drills. So for Snacks to get that tackle here in game 1, job well done by him.
An eligible player downfield, number 89 on the offense. 89 was on the line and covered. 5-yard penalty, replay first down.
An eligible player downfield. So Albany will move backwards. 1st and 15. Five wide receivers for Poffenbarger. Baylor crowd showing signs of life. Poffenbarger escapes. Matt Jones with the clothesline after a 5-yard gain.
Matt Jones is the one slow to get up there. Poffenbarger's limping his way back to the huddle as well. Matt Jones heading off the field after that extension trying to get that tackle. We'll see him reach that right arm out right there. Oh, he bangs into Al Walcott. Little self-inflicted Baylor wound there.
Close to a face mask, no call. 2nd and 10 for the Great Danes. Greeny close to the first down.
A.J. McCarty on the tackle, coming up from his cornerback position.
We have seen signs of life from the Great Danes offense. Julian Hicks, Thomas Greeny, who Coach Aranda called him one of those guys, or maybe Todd Sibley needs to step up here on 3rd down. Movement before the snap. Cole Maxwell, the guilty party. Let's get it down to referee Kevin Boitman for the official word.
Offside, number 96, defense. Player entered the zone and caused a reaction. 5-yard penalty results in a first down.
Cole Maxwell, 6'5", 285, 6-year senior from Allen, Texas. heads to the sideline.
No matter how well coached you are, those kind of things are just going to happen in game one. You want to be able to check them off the list and not be a mistake repeater in game two.
Only 3 penalties so far for Baylor. Roy Alexander pulls that one down. Walcott in on the tackle once again, 6-yard gain.
Another drive, leads past midfield for the Albany offense. When they get on the other side of the 50, where things kind of bog down for them, they've had a couple of these, you know, the kind of methodical, slow drives. And then the Baylor defense tends to tighten up.
Second and short for Poffenbarger. Transfer from Old Dominion, playing in his first college football game this evening. Redshirted last season. Faces pressure up the middle. Throws off his back foot. Ian Reniger snatches it. Dylan Doyle in the area.
Tremendous grab. Reniger goes up and gets a, oh no. Yeah.
Out of bounds.
Great elevation, just could not get that foot in bounds.
If he's not careful, he'll be getting a phone call from Albany basketball head coach Dwayne Killings. Built a nice program there for the Great Danes. The football team now faces 3rd and 4. Pressure from Williams. Poffenbarger dials up Greeny. Devin Neal on the stop, but not before a big game. Biggest of the day, 32 yards for Poffenbarger and the Great Danes.
A little bit of a prayer thrown at by Poffenbarger, and he threw his wish up in the air, and Greeny granted that wish right there on the sideline, on the Baylor sideline. In fact, coming down with that football, using his big body to body that Baylor defender out. Nice job by Greeny.
Sibley inside of the red zone, powers his way to a few yards. Tackled by Garmin Randolph. The 6'7", 247-pound Garmin Randolph. He's a physical specimen.
Sibley goes down on the field. Hopefully it's just a case of cramps. Looks like that may be the case. No. Looking at that left knee.
Todd Sibley, transfer from Pitt. He's in his 6th year. Highly sought after recruit out of Akron, Ohio. And Archbishop Hogan, 5'9", 227, makes his way off the field.
Considering where this ball game is, that may be the last we see of Sibley tonight. Offensive coordinator Jared Ambrose may be wise to save him for future games down the schedule.
Crowd at McLean Stadium making some noise. 2nd and long. Poffenbarger almost intercepted by Dylan Doyle through his hands.
Nice break on the ball by Doyle. The joke is always why you play defense, because you can't catch the football. I heard that my entire life whenever I've dropped an interception as a defender. Good vision. Doyle sees Poffenbarger's eyes, breaks on the football. Really good coverage play. Just needs to find a way to come down with it.
Freshman Devin Bobby from DeSoto High School, as we get another look at Doyle, the transfer from Iowa. Bobby also in on the play there. 10th play of the drive for the Great Danes. 3rd and 9. Poffenbarger spins out of the pocket, pump fakes, pulls it down. Dances inside the 10-yard line, and Snacks Johnson ushers him out of bounds after a 5-yard gain. So now we've got 4th down, and Coach Greg Gattuso, for the time being, it looks, going to try to work out his field goal unit.
this field goal attempt is less about the score and more about, hey, we had a scoring drive put together. It would be very deflating to go all the way down the field in this drive without any points on the board. So Coach Gattuso doing the smart thing for his football team's psyche there.
Apalco splits the uprights from 25 yards. 42-10, Baylor leads. Big 12 now on ESPN+. 42-10, Baylor leads from McLean Stadium. Dylan Doyle with the fresh fade, playing some good football tonight. The coach on the field, and he can do it all, Chad. He shows some flexibility.
Here he is rushing for a touchdown against BYU last year, and then snagging a touchdown pass. Versatility. Coaches love guys who can do multiple things. And it also helps you when you play defense, because now you understand what the offense is doing, what those offensive coaches are saying in the meeting. So a rushing touchdown against BYU, a receiving touchdown and a sack against BYU last year. That's a nice full stat sheet. A lot of people are jealous of that.
As a lifetime defender in the NFL and at CU in college, what does it mean to have a coach on the field for your defense?
There's always going to be guys on the field who are a little uncertain. So they need somebody to line them up, to explain the call, to give some of the details. That coach on the field really makes a difference. Hey, remember in film session this week, we alerted this on third down. Those kind of little tips and tidbits in the huddle are really instrumental to moving those young guys forward and getting them up to speed.
24th start for Dylan Doyle as we get our first look at Kyron Drones, who takes over for Blake Shapen, who was 17 for 20, 214 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Drones brings some depth. Positive yardage for Tay McWilliams, taken down by Jack Ambush.
Kyron Jones coming in this ball game for Blake Shapen, the redshirt freshman from Pearland, Texas. Definitely a guy they're looking to in the future. Has earned the backup quarterback spot this year during camp over Luke Anthony and some other guys at that crowded quarterback position.
Jackson Ambush is down as we get a look at Drones. More on him after break. Baylor in command, 42-10. Stadium, that is Blake Shapen. Tonight, 17 of 20 for 214s and 2 touchdowns. If you combine his performance last year in the Big 12 title game and tonight, he is 40 of 48 in his last 2 games with 2 touchdowns.
That's impressive. Yeah, I thought his 71% passing last year against Kansas State, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma State was good. He's 85% passer tonight. Joe Montana didn't put up numbers like that, by the way.
Richard Reese, the freshman, fighting his way to a first down for the Bears. 5-yard gain for the track star out of Belleville High School here in Texas.
I expect the Baylor play calls to be predominantly run at this point in the ball game. Going to work on that, improve on what was a disappointing first half rushing the football.
McWilliams over the right side. Positive yardage before Samaj Brown knocks him out of bounds. 9-yard gain.
No edge to the Albany defense right there, so McWilliams had an easy path to the edge of the sideline.
How conscious are coaches, Chad, of late in the game like this, you've got a commanding lead. You don't want to show too much. You're going into Provo next Saturday.
Yeah, now's not the time to open up and empty the playbook. Now's the time to chew up the clock, work on your run game, keep things fairly vanilla so you give no tips to BYU at all.
Drones looking to spice it up. That pass deflected, really didn't have a chance off the giddy up. Intended for Seth Jones.
Drones, a few too many hitches in that. Off the play action, one hitch and throw it. He went to his 3rd hitch. That was too slow. By that point, Seth Jones was covered, almost impossible to make that completion. Great opportunity to get your backup quarterback some run. Give him some opportunities to get coached up, maybe some plays successful, not so successful, but things you can put on tape and for him to see and get better and improve at.
Motion from Sims on 3rd and short. A lot of pressure. Finds Sims and a first down. 3-yard gain, but enough to move the chains. Baylor 5 of 8 on the night on 3rd down, rather.
Lots been made of Coach Aranda and some of his non-stereotypical head coach ways. Certainly, I think there's some time in this ballgame where you and I discussed it was a very interesting and enlightening production meeting yesterday.
Drones into the end zone. Knocked to the turf is Josh Cameron. Flag is down. But you mentioned Dave Aranda, and yesterday you touched on the fact that you saw 3 different coaches in that meeting room.
It was fascinating when he was talking about himself and his attempts to grow as a head coach and become a better communicator and looking deeply in himself. He was looking at the ceiling and kind of philosophizing, trying to find his words.
Defense.
Then we asked,
15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Then we asked about the defense, and immediately he switched into coach mode and was breaking it down and was very clear and direct. And then we asked him some questions about the offense, and he was, a little bit out of his comfort space as a defensive guy, and it kind of softened his conversation a bit. He was still in control, but a little softer. So it was interesting to see 3 different versions of the same coach in one meeting.
More on that in a moment. McWilliams wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Helmet is lost for A.J. Missler, but Shane Sparks is found. Let's get it down to the 3rd member of our team.
Guys, I'm with you guys. That conversation with those coaches yesterday, specifically about Coach Aranda, was fascinating to me. Talking to Coach Grimes, he said he's just really brought the culture. It wasn't easy. And he said something that really stood out to me. He said they want to get these guys to play from a place of value and not for a place of value. And I thought that was really interesting. And he said it's progress over outcome, and it's progress over perfection as well. So just a different way of doing things, but you can't argue it's worked here in Waco.
It certainly has worked really well, Shane. And he was talking about the progress versus the result. If you are always results oriented, you lose a ball game, you're sad, and the growth that your team had, the ways that your younger players got better is lost if you're always results oriented. Now, this business is the bottom line results business. Did you win or did you lose? But as a coach, you have to have the ability to see into those gray areas. And so he was very enlightening in that respect in our meeting yesterday.
Shows a lot of vulnerability, too, and I think a lot of players feed off of that. Today's players, pretty evolved. Quaylon Jones pulls it down inside the 15. But he seems like the perfect fit here at Baylor, and he really does seem like he's getting through to his players here at Baylor. And you talked about it. You played for Coach Bill McCartney at Colorado, and you guys really turned the corner. Title game, you lose to Notre Dame, but then you win the national title, and you put the program pretty much back on the map. And I asked you, what does it take to do that? And you said a transcendent football coach.
And I think Dave Aranda is that. When you can create a culture, when you get everyone in the building buying into your message, even though it may be a slightly unusual message, the buy-in.
Albany, they're first. It will be 30 seconds.
Timeout on the field. 2:01 left as we're coming up on 4th and 2. Now, Coach Aranda is a guy off the field. He is all about relationships and connection. And look no further than, hey, last week of football camp and fall camp, Coach Aranda says, guys, we're going to get away. Baylor pool day. Look no further than this.
There's nothing more fun than, a trip to the water park. To do it with your teammates, it is amazing how you can, sometimes the simplest things from a coaching standpoint, to give your players a day off and allow them to have fun. You bring out the little boy in them, but you create this team bonding moment. Coach to player, player to player, and those kind of things are extremely useful for this culture that Dave Aranda is building here. you know, we learned a lot of things. I think I've been in, you know, dozens and dozens of these production meetings over the years, but it was the first time I've ever heard, you know, I get a new team every single Monday. He's always looking at the team with fresh eyes every single week.
Drones looking for 6 9-yard touchdown run. He gets it. Baylor continues to pour it on.
Drones showing his athleticism, escaping the pocket on the rollout, recognizing his receivers are covered downfield, splints the Albany defense for the touchdown there. There was some concern. Was Blake the only option they had at quarterback? I think Drones is trying to show, hey, I can get it done too if asked.
A.J. Missler just baffled there by Drones, who showed off his athletic ability. Snap is low. Nice job with the hold by Griffin Speaks. And the ball goes through the uprights. Chad, a big part about being a quarterback that can run is being able to operate in space and use vision to get positive yardage. That's what we saw here.
Again, you roll the quarterback out to give him that run-pass option, and he's looking downfield. And if the receivers are covered, I'm going to tuck that away very decisively and head for the end zone. That's what Drones does right there. That puts so much pressure on the defense. Those edge guys who are trying to rush the passer, they always got to be conscious of trying to keep you in the pocket. That can slow pass rushes down. So very nice play by Drones, but also a good play design by Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator, giving his young quarterback that comfort of the run-pass option.
9 plays, 54 yards, 49-10. The 10th ranked Baylor Bears. A decisive advantage right now. From McLean Stadium on a Saturday night. Week 1 of college football, Big 12 now on ESPN+. Pete Souza alongside the 3-time Pro Bowler Chad Brown. Down on the sidelines is Shane Sparks. And set to uncork it is Noah Rauschenberg. Poffenbarger going to come back out of the huddle off the sidelines. We talked to offensive coordinator Jack Ambrose, and he said it was a 4-way quarterback competition coming into the season. He was asked, when do you want to have it figured out? He said, I want to have it sorted out before halftime. And it looks like they just might have had it figured out.
I'm not sure if that was just a smoke screen by the coaches, kind of indicating to us that multiple quarterbacks would play. But considering the score on the scoreboard, it certainly is an opportunity to see what the number 2 or number 3 guy have. But they are sticking with Poffenbarger.
On the day, he's got 11 carries for 44 yards. And through the air, 12 of 24. 140 yards and a touchdown as we get a whistle.
Timeout. Albany, their second of the half. It'll be 30 seconds.
Albany will call the 32nd timeout. Coach Greg Gattuso, 7 years in law enforcement outside of Pittsburgh. And, you know, one of the best parts, we talk about these production calls. We're on the production call on last Wednesday. And Coach Gattuso joins a little late, sitting there talking to us. All of a sudden, we're getting underway with the call, the Zoom call, and he looks and he says, is that the Chad Brown? He's a Pittsburgh guy. He said, hey, I loved your work for the Steelers.
Luckily, I was never in his police precinct. I tried to keep my nose clean when I was a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Poffenbarger, play action. Has the Bears on his heels. Catching up to him. Chidi Obanaya.
Poffenbarger kind of limping his way back into the huddle. I'm guessing that's going to be probably more so cramps than an actual injury. He was very lucky to accept Jackson Player getting tremendous penetration into the backfield there.
Lopez Quinones, nice job picking up the blitz. Poffenbarger, though, could not outrun Obanaya. 2nd and 9. Flags fly. Poffenbarger with some questions as the officials get together and sort it out. 49-10 from McLean Stadium. Week 1, Baylor taking care of business.
False start. Number 75, offense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
And that is the 9th penalty for the Great Danes tonight. 9 penalties for 67 yards. You look at the other side, Baylor 4 penalties for 30 yards.
I can understand a Albany offensive lineman holding one of these great defensive linemen for the Baylor Bears in the course of the play, but most of the penalties have been pre or post snap for Albany. You've got to get your mental game a little tighter than that. Can't keep making these kind of mistakes.
Poffenbarger under duress finds Jackson Parker. Positive yardage for the Great Danes. 10-yard gain. Brings up another 3rd down. If you want to look at one positive for the Great Danes, they've had a lot of 3rd downs, but they are 5 of 12, something to build on.
When they review this tape on Monday, there'll be some positive things to point out. There's no doubt about that. Things they can build upon.
Pushed out of the pocket. Poffenbarger whacked to the turf. Will Williams finished him off. Several other Bears in his face.
Gutsy effort by Poffenbarger just to get rid of this football. Escapes the one sack, almost runs into another there. Slammed down by Williams.
A lot of resolve shown by Poffenbarger, but it has been a long night. Gavin Holmes back deep. Takes it on the run. Not much of a chance there. Nice coverage by Albany. "13 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. It has been all Baylor. Kyron Drones talking it over with offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes. Drones engineered a scoring drive.
I enjoyed our conversation with Jeff Grimes. This is his 2nd year at Baylor. You know, part of the reason why they were successful last year was a lot of his offensive play calls. But looking to really expand the offense this year, add an explosive element. We saw that illustrated in the first half with some of those play action throws by Shapen.
Flag is down. McWilliams, his longest gain of the evening.
Illegal block in the back. Number 88, offense. 10-yard penalty.
Seth Jones, the guilty party. Back to Grimes. Baylor running that RVO, reliable, violent offense. He says it's more aligned with NFL offenses, especially now that they have Blake Shapen to open things up and be a little more threatening on 3rd downs. If we want to throw the ball on 3rd down, we can. That's what he said.
It's very similar to what the 49ers run with the zone running attack, the play action off of that, some of the explosive elements mixed in as well. But that style of offense is just so difficult to defend.
That is the end of the 3rd quarter.
And it's been difficult to defend tonight. Baylor leading 49-10 at the end of the 3rd quarter here from McLean Stadium. We'll be back.
Yesterday, when we asked offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes who he was most excited to see play tonight, he said it's number 41, Garrison Grimes. That is his son. He's a long snapper on the team. Coach Grimes said it's been an awesome experience. Just being around him every day is so cool. And as a college coach, you spend a lot of time with your kids. And he said right now he feels like he's stealing some of that time back. Just a really cool night for the Grimes family here tonight in Waco.
Thanks a lot, Shane. Chad, he lit up like a Christmas tree when he started to talk about his son.
Yeah, Shane, you know, being the sideline guy, was asking for any unusual stories or biggest surprises, all those kind of things. And Coach Grimes was a little reluctant, but then he put it out there. That he was really looking forward to seeing his son play, and that's got to be special. I coached my son in Pop Warner football, and those are some of my favorite football memories. And I've been playing this game since I was 6 years old, so I can only imagine to share a college field with your son, how awesome it's got to be for Jeff Grimes.
Richard Reese slices through the line of scrimmage across the 40. Inside the 40-yard line, wrapped up by Samaj Brown. 15 yards on the carry. 5'9", 175. He squirts through the line of scrimmage there, Chad, to positive yardage.
This run game continuing to be explosive for Baylor. Something I think that after that first half certainly needed some work and some attention. And Jeff Grimes getting back to what a lot of folks saw from Baylor last year was a very physical, violent running game led by that awesome group up front.
Samaj Brown in on the tackle. He was the player we saw on the turf. 3 tackles on the evening.
Looks like he got a knee in the back of his calf.
Albany training staff attending to Samaj Brown. 49-10. Baylor on the move again. Coach Greg Gattuso talked about his team traveling to Central Texas. He said, hey, I never go into a game thinking that we're not going to win. But he knew that it was going to be an uphill battle.
He did, and that certainly has proven to be the case. But there's a lot of positives to be taken out of this. As I talked about, on Monday, they will have some plays to point out to these guys where they stood toe-to-toe with the 10th best team in the country. And there'll be things that they will benefit from later on in the season from this experience. Seeing what the top-level competition is like. It's hard to pull mortar out of yourself until you're kind of demanded to do that, particularly in such a physical game like football. So these players for Albany, for the most part, will walk away from this experience better football players, having to understand a higher level and standard to themselves.
Jones with the laser. Out of reach for Seth Jones. Coach Gattuso, nose guard on the 1982 Penn State national title team. He talked about it, and we've talked about it. His dream was to be a Pittsburgh police officer, but he basically couldn't help himself from getting into the coaching ranks. Was a high school coach, then coached at Duquesne, and then assistant at Maryland, assistant at Pitt, and here he is, took this team to the 2019 FCS playoffs, won a game, and trying to get back there. Reese around the right side. Jackson Ambush finally tracks him down, but not before he gains 22 yards.
I don't think Jeff Grimes is opening up the playbook, but we've definitely seen a number of different style runs by the Baylor Bears offense. We've seen more traditional inside-outside zone. We've seen kind of this slant slashing run they've hit a few different times. We've seen some outside runs as well. I believe another Albany player down with cramps. Again, that lack of depth, the scholarship limits at the lower level of football just makes this, which is already going to be a very difficult night, even more difficult for some of these Great Dane players.
Yeah, and this was about as good as they were going to get conditions-wise. About 89 degrees. We'd had a lot of rain coming into this weekend. Nonetheless, Albany trails big time. 49-10 from McLean Stadium. 13:38 left in the fourth. We'll be right back. Back here at McLean Stadium on the campus of Baylor University in Waco, Texas. That's Marigold, one of the Baylor mascots. And she's got to be happy tonight with her team leading 49-10, 13:38 left in the fourth quarter.
Well, the 1st and 10 at the 15-yard line, have been rushing the ball really well the last couple of drives, basically the entire second half.
154 yards rushing in the second half. This guy's had a big hand in that. Richard Reese wrapped up close to the line of scrimmage. Flags are down.
Looks like this one's going to be holding offensively coming back.
Busy night for referee Kevin Boitman.
tripping, number 65, offense. 15-yard penalty, replay first down.
Now, in your experience as a college and NFL football player, how often does that, how does that happen, the tripping penalty?
Well, let's see what happens here.
I guess we'll look.
Yeah. Micah
Mazzccua, yeah.
Yeah, Mazzccua tried to cut the defensive lineman, and once he didn't get him on the ground, kicked his feet up in the air. It's technically called tripping as a penalty, but as players, we call that leg whip. We're kind of whipping those legs around. And you get a cleat in your thigh or on your shin, you're not very happy about that. Let's just put that, very, very clearly.
Drones showing some moxie in the pocket. Drake Dabney close to the goal line. 29-yard gain.
Nice ball by Drones. Some very soft coverage by the Great Dane defenders there. Close, but not all the way in there. Gives the Baylor offense 1st and goal from the 1.
Gavin Yates lined up as fullback. Richard Reese behind him in the I formation. Johnson in motion. Reese plunging into the end zone. The damage continues for the Great Danes. Richard Reese, his first career touchdown.
One of the few times we've seen a fullback on the field for the Baylor Bears offense. Again, more complexity and levels to this run game for Jeff Grimes and this offense. You want to be able to defend this run game, you've got to be prepared for outside runs, for inside runs, for slash runs, for power runs with the fullback on the field. Sometimes you can exhaust yourself just trying to list out all the different ways they get after it.
Richard Reese had 2,300 yards running in high school. A big 1 yard there on the way to his first career touchdown. Baylor in control. Closing in on 198 yards rushing, closing in on 200 yards, and it has been a versatile attack, Chad.
It has been. Saw Squirrel Williams with the first touchdown. There's Shapen coming around the edge on the outside, getting inside the pylon. A jet sweep to Baldwin for a 50-yard reverse touchdown. They've gotten it done so many different ways. Backup quarterback Drones comes in and says, I got some skills too. Gets himself in the end zone. And then the plunge here by Richard Reese, the 1 yard plunge, showing some power football, running behind a fullback. Lots of versatility to this Baylor Bears run game.
Jeff Grimes calls the offense RVO, reliable, violent offense. They come at you in several different formations, but just a few different ways, and they have done it tonight. Kickoff falls in front of Brevin Easton. How about that, Chad? You mentioned it. I'm going to give you all the credit in the world for this. At halftime, you said they are going to run the football, and they're going to do it efficiently, and that's exactly what they've done.
I saw the look in Jeff Grimes' eyes in that production meeting yesterday, and I knew that 15 attempts for 43 yards was not going to be nearly good enough. His expectation level, his standards. I think all three coaches we talked to yesterday talked highly about their standards here. And if things fall short, they have to remind the guys what the standards are. They had a conversation about the rushing game standards, and the results are showing here in the second half. 16 attempts, 155 yards.
New quarterback is Joey Carino. He keeps it. Carino, he's the leading returning passer. Coach Aranda mentioned to us, a leading returning passer for Albany. Coach Aranda said, hey, I like him. He was a feisty, and he called him a little guy, 5'11", 212, but he seemed very fond of him.
I think if you go into the camp with a four-way quarterback battle, it's got to be a bit of fondness for all those guys. And you learn how they fight through adversity, how they deal with the egos as far as who gets reps and who doesn't.
Carino scrambles out of the end zone to positive yardage. Braden Utley on the tackle. Carino from Somers, New York. 8 touchdowns in his first year.
Josh White is at that middle linebacker spot for Baylor. He's the transfer from LSU.
And he came in hot right there.
We talked about how excited they were to see him. They say he's got burst, speed, super physical. Dave Aranda was really looking forward to seeing him play tonight.
That is Tevin Williams on your screen. Stillwater, Oklahoma. And there's Joey Carino. After an ill-fated first drive, Jordan Neighbors back deep for Baylor. Set to kick it away is Tyler Pastula. 56-10. We are inside of 12 minutes. Play clock going down to 4. Timeout on the field.
Albany, their third and final.
Great Dane's going to use their third and final timeout.
It will be 30 seconds.
The correct players, number of players on the field. If you're backed up punting, it's already a dangerous situation anyway. But the last thing you want to do is do that with only 10 guys on the field. That's going to result in either a punt block or a lengthy punt return, possible punt return for a touchdown. So good use of the timeout, but you hate to use timeouts in those kind of situations. We want to use timeouts so we can try to score points, guys, not because we don't have the right number of guys on the field.
There's 11:22 left in this game, Chad, but we asked Coach Aranda, what do you want to learn from your team? And he said, I want to learn what their identity is. What do you think he has learned? What's their identity look like to you?
They showed a lot of toughness. They've showed competitiveness. Both sides of the ball have he talked about this going to halftime, have picked each other up. The special teams was explosive.
Jordan Neighbors explodes across the 30, close to the 20-yard line. Chad, you just went through their identity, what you have seen from them today, and Coach Aranda slaps Neighbors 5, and you can imagine he'll want to see some more production similar to this, but he'll be doing it against, you're talking about BYU, then you got Texas State, but then you go into the Big 12 schedule where you have some difficult games on the road.
You do, but Baylor is up next. They got to find a way to clean up the mistakes of tonight. You know, you can't have a lapse against BYU like you had tonight against Albany. You can't take a full half a quarter off like they did late in that second quarter. So there will be things, just like Albany will walk away from this game and their coaches will put up some positive things. Dave Aranda and his staff will find enough negative things to keep this Baylor Bears team motivated and to point out the flaws in their game tonight. Because you can walk off the field tonight feeling pretty good about yourself, but there's lots of things they need to clean up going into that BYU Cougar game next week.
Jordan Jenkins is the running back for Baylor. Shotgun formation alongside Drones. Johnson in motion. Coming around is Neighbors off the productive punt. He is pushed out of bounds by Dylan Kelly after a gain of 5.
Keep getting these young guys reps. If you want your number 2s to stick around with the easy transfers of today's football and not be disillusioned because they haven't gotten much action, put these guys in the ball game. Let them show you what they have. Build up that depth, build up their confidence, and build that whole team feeling that comes when so many guys play.
Richard Reese squirts out of the tackle. Junkage almost had him behind the line of scrimmage. Ori Jean Charles finally finishes him off after a gain of 5 yards.
True freshman guard Joy Miley was the one who missed the block and allowed that initial penetration. Even for your freshman, hey, you missed the block. What happened? How can we make sure this doesn't happen next week to you? A lot of things to get coached up off this tape.
Pistol formation. Reese again. Cuts back against the grain to daylight. Towards the pylon. Big block by Kyron Drones. 7-yard touchdown.
Sixth rushing touchdown of the evening for Baylor. We've seen the quarterbacks do it. We've seen wide receivers do it. Running backs get into the action now. Reversing field not the way it's drawn up. But watch drones come up here, assess. No, do I block that guy? No, this is the most dangerous guy down the field. Knocks off that Great Dane defender, allowing his runner to get into the end zone.
Yeah, it gives Samaj Brown the business as Reese moves in space into the end zone. You got to love seeing that from a teammate, Chad. When you got your quarterback who's mixing it up, making blocks down the field.
Quarterbacks who show some toughness and willing to put their body in harm's way to help their teammate out, you get respect when you do that. Nice job by Drones.
(63-10) Baylor. Golden so far. This one really never in doubt outside of a couple moments in the first half. Pete Souza alongside NFL Pro Bowler Chad Brown. Chad, you have to like what you've seen so far from Baylor.
Oh, no doubt about that. There were a lot of questions coming into this season with the loss of so many weapons in the backfield and in the wide receiver room and back in the secondary. These young guys so far tonight have really answered the questions well.
Well, and they have had the opportunity to build off situations like this. Last season, Big 12 title game. Football is a game of inches, Chad, and right here, Jaron McVay makes the play of, I don't know, the decade for Baylor football, maybe of all time.
It's one of the great plays of Baylor football history, no doubt about that. As much as it is an individual play, that is a program play. If your coaches don't stress running to the football every single day, maybe he takes that play a little bit lightly. Maybe he doesn't start running full speed from the very first step. Because of that training, because of that program mentality of the standards of how we play defense, that's what allows you to go out there and make a play like that and the Baylor Bears to become Big 12 champions.
Baylor's third Big 12 championship of all time. We've got a new quarterback in the game, Tyler Zalowski. Incomplete to Quinn Zanoble, but that's one of those examples of, Coach Aranda has mentioned, how are things going when they aren't going well? And prior to that snap on fourth down, there was a little bit of commotion on the field, and you know what that's like to try to stay calm under pressure when there are so many moving parts on defense.
Typically, in those moments, the coolest, calmest team is the one that's able to execute and go back to their fundamentals, as the Baylor Bears did there on that play, which won the Big 12 championship. You're in chaos, you can't pull that off.
Quinn Zanoble on the reception from Zalkowski, 10-yard game.
Ineligible receiver down
63-10. Dave Aranda has to like what he sees so far.
I've played against Joe Montana in a 2-minute drive. He was the coolest, calmest dude on the field. I've been a teammate of Tom Brady's in a 2-minute drive. He's the coolest, calmest dude on the field. Panic doesn't make plays. Be cool, be calm, be collected. That's what makes plays for you.
Second and 15. Tight ends in motion for the Great Danes. Zalkowski. Lopez Quinones moves the pile for 4 yards.
A lot of guys in this Baylor defense clearing the bench now, rotating players in and out, working on their depth. Injuries in football are typically funny. They just aren't kind of random around your defense or your offense. They typically kind of hit one position room at a time. So your ability to take advantage of a game like today and build that depth, get these young players opportunities is really critical.
Zalkowski tried to find a seam. Couldn't do it. Tyrone Brown knocks it to the turf.
Wininger was the intended target. Another one of those kind of mismatch style tight ends that Albany has at their disposal. 6'5", 254. Well covered.
Saw Coach Ron Roberts there. Not a lot to complain about tonight. His defense surrendered just over 18 points a game last year, 14th in the NCAA, giving up 10 points tonight.
Giving Tyrone Brown a hard time there on the sideline about dropping that interception opportunity.
Wow, Jordan Neighbors, like he's tracking down a fly ball at the warning track. across the 30-yard line and slammed to the turf. Nice punt by Tyler Pastula. Baylor 63-10. 7:31 left in the fourth quarter.
The $6 your way deal at Burger King is a
And fans at McLean Stadium and all over Texas, Baylor alums from Dangerfield to Denton to Dallas and of course here in Waco have to love this start. Richard Reese reverses field, spinning over the 40-yard line. 7-yard gain.
Late flag coming in there. A little bit of extras going on out there.
Feels like Richard Reese is getting lathered up, Chad.
After the play was over, personal foul, late hit, number 77, offense. 15-yard penalty will be second down.
Tate Williams hit with the penalty, nullifying the 7-yard gain by Richard Reese.
I think all running backs want to have a stretch of plays like Richard Reese has got here, where you're getting the opportunity to have some slash runs, some power runs, some inside runs, some out runs, and that's how you do get lathered up. You know, it's not, you know, one guy this series, one guy that series. He's getting the majority of the run here in the fourth quarter, and it's showing some productivity, no doubt about that.
Shahadi, nice play behind the line of scrimmage on Reese. We'll head out of the ball game.
You talked about the Baylor fans feeling pretty good about this, but I would say beyond, look at it as Coach Aranda would. Progress over results. We kind of knew what the result was going to be with this game, more than likely, with the opponent. But the progress with all the young receivers, the progress with your quarterback, the progress with your young running backs, seeing your young DBs step up, that's what they're going to be most happy about in those coaching rooms.
And we actually saw progress over the course of the game as Drones goes deep down the field, and he's got Ellis. "54 yards on the play."
Wasn't a great ball by Drones. Ellis had to slow down to get that. A few too many hitches, and Jones just dropped. Needs to release that ball a little bit sooner. Nice job by Ellis, kind of shielding the ball from the Albany defender there to come down with that football.
Quaylen Jones could have driven a truck through that hole, and he drives into the end zone. 27-yard touchdown.
Nice burst to a fatigued, tired, demoralized Albany defense there by Quaylen Jones. 5'10", 242. Not just a power back, shows some speed there, gets himself into the end zone. Those rushing stats here in the second half look far better than they did in the first half.
Second career touchdown for Jones. And he's got 60 yards running on the night. PAT.
Shaky operation on that. Bad snap. Holder couldn't get it down in place.
So that keeps Baylor from hitting 70.
That slash play, we've seen other backs run. Quaylen Jones cuts it back and it kind of weaves his way through the Great Danes defense. That play all night is hit to the play side. That time he cuts it back all the way to the backside there, and no one in that hole for Albany. And then after that, that's a big man running. And I think those Albany Great Danes are kind of making maybe not business decisions, that's what you make in the NFL. They're called scholarship decisions here on the college level.
Burst there from Quaylen Jones, exploding through the hole into his second career touchdown. 5:46 left in the fourth quarter. 69-10. Baylor ahead of Albany. Noah Rauschenberg getting set to kick it away. Now, I'm guessing, Chad, you had a lot of success in college and in the pros, so I'm figuring you've been on the Baylor side of games like this. Is there anything you hear from a coach to either keep your head on straight or to keep you from possibly getting a silly injury or something like that?
Keep playing. Football is a full-speed game. The second you turn yourself down to an 8 or a 9 out of 10, bad things can happen in those circumstances. So when the score is lopsided like this, it's difficult because you can't tell your guys to not play. And when your backups get in the game, they want to excel and score points as well.
Landon Alexander shot out of a cannon for 4 yards.
We've talked a lot about the departures in that wide receiver room and in the running back room, but they lost a lot of guys in that secondary last year as well. Jalen Petrie, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, went in the second round of the draft. So there's question marks on both sides of the ball, and I think these young guys have stepped up really well here tonight.
Joey Carino back in the game for the Great Danes. Hands it off to Alexander, moves the pile.
Jalen Petrie right there. Look at that stat sheet. 3 interceptions, 3 recovered fumbles, 3 forced fumbles. Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. J.T. Woods, another safety back there in that secondary for Baylor last year. Those other guys, all very good players, all very critical components of what they were able to be defensively, which led to their overall success. So they're counting on these young guys, who we've seen a lot of them play tonight, to step up and emerge and try to have that same kind of leadership they had from these guys listed here on the screen.
And you know, Chad, that's just the defensive backfield. Terrell Bernard, one of the best defenders in the Big 12, drafted by the Buffalo Bills, as Carino shoots it out of bounds, out of the reach of Quinn Zenobel. Brings up another 4th down. Man, the last time we saw Tyler Pastula give it a ride for the Great Danes, he was showing everybody why he's preseason All-CAA. Back deep to receive once again is Jordan Neighbors.
Needs to get some height on this. You don't want to kick it too far and out-kick your coverage. That's been part of the reason why the Baylor's had some success with these returns.
Neighbors plays the hop. Gets a block. Running out of room. Reverses field. Across the 20. Makes another tackler miss. And falls to the turf. Ran 30 yards and gained 1 after a 43-yard punt.
Real football is not like video games. You can do that in video games. Run from one sideline to the other and then cut it upfield. At some point, fatigue is going to catch up with you, and there's just too many bodies out there to weave through.
7th-year senior Luke Anthony, 24 years of age, has actually played a game at McLean Stadium. Started for Abilene Christian in 2017 when his team lost to Baylor. Now he has transferred from Louisiana Tech and is providing some serious depth under center.
Another running back in the game. Jenkins getting that last carry, really emptying the bench here for the Baylor Bears. A lot of guys getting a chance to get some run, as you would expect when the score is as lopsided as it is currently.
Jenkins. Brings up a 3rd down. 3:10 left. Baylor up 69-10. Big 12 now on ESPN Plus. Plenty of action coming up next week. 3 games on Saturday. Baylor themselves will travel to Provo, Utah for their first big test of the season.
Nice job by Dylan Kelly, linebacker for Albany, filling that hole. He's one of the few starters still out there for that Albany defense, showing some pride. Your standards as a player, they don't change with the scoreboard. They don't change with what teammates are surrounding you. The standard is a standard. Dylan Kelly's still out there trying to get it done for the Great Danes defense.
And you know better than anybody, after a long offseason, you're just dying to get out there, play some football, have some fun, and hit somebody.
There's no doubt about that. You would hope that the score wouldn't be as lopsided as is here.
Yeah.
But nice to see Dylan Kelly hasn't changed his standards as this game is getting into the final minutes here.
Delay of game.
Whistle on the field,
Offense.
flag is down.
5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
So Baylor will move backwards. Noah Rauschenberg set to get another rep. Ooh, off the side of his foot, out of bounds.
Shanked it for sure.
For sure.
Kind of looks like my golf game. Doesn't always go where I want it to go.
No mulligans for him. $14-yard punt. You see Joey Carino under center, playing for Greg Gattuso. Coach Gattuso told us he is still close with Bob Ford, who was the football coach at Albany for 43 years before the arrival of Gattuso. He says they have breakfast once in a while. Still to this day, they break a little bread, but we talked about it earlier. You talk about Coach Gattuso coaching for 9 years, and you talk about Coach Ford for 43 years. That's 52 years. It's like the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's amazing. It's so amazing. That kind of continuity within one program. Obviously, you know, college football is maybe one of the most impatient sports on all the planet, but apparently that hasn't invaded Albany just yet because they stick with these guys. There's some great seasons, some seasons that they would love to improve upon, but they show faith in those guys that they head coach got.
You talk to people around Albany. It's a great place to work. It's a school that continues to grow. You're right there in the capital of New York State. A lot of opportunities. I spoke with Dwayne Killings, the men's basketball coach at University of Albany. He said, hey, we get politicians that come through, talk to our kids. They're exposed to a lot in the capital region.
The CAA conference has produced a number of NFL greats. You mentioned Howie Long earlier, Hall of Famer. We've talked a number of times about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin from William & Mary in that conference. And I'll throw a trivia question out for you. Which school in this conference has a Super Bowl MVP and a regular season MVP as part of their football alumni?
I would guess Rich Gannon from Delaware.
You are correct. Who's the Super Bowl MVP?
Joe Flacco.
There you go. Look at you. Well done, partner.
Well done by you, Chad Brown, and well done by the Baylor Bears. 69-10. The Bears have won 8 straight. And the Baylor faithful has to like what they have seen tonight. Teams meeting at center field. This is part of the pageantry of college football. Sportsmanship, week 1 here in Central Texas. You have to be happy if you're Coach Dave Aranda right now, Chad.
I think you do. I think you do. You're happy with the results, but you're also happy with the progress. There were a number of question marks going into this season. Not to say these question marks have been finally answered. Obviously, the level of opponents a little different than what they'll face for the majority of this season. But to show Blake Shapen's skill set here tonight, what he's done, he was clean, he was efficient, 85% passer, 17 of 20, had a couple of really explosive big plays down the field. Also showed some discipline as well, taking what the defense gives him.
You mentioned he was clean. and he was accurate. 17 of 20, 214 yards, dialed from long distance early on to Monterey Baldwin, keeping the defense on its heels. You show you can throw underneath. You show you can make big plays throwing deep. 2 touchdowns throwing, 1 touchdown on the ground. It was all Blake Shapen.
That was an absolute dime to the back of the end zone. Lofted it up, allowed his receiver to run underneath it, but not outside the end zone. He was just really dynamic tonight. So I'm looking forward to their game next week against BYU, a different level of opponent, but I'm expecting to see that same kind of consistency what we saw under center tonight for the Baylor Bears.
You saw him eluding pressure, feeling pressure, showing that moxie. Coach Aranda told us when he gave him the keys to the offense last year at the end of spring, he said he really wasn't fazed by it. Had the confidence that you would expect a great quarterback to have.
Some guys, they shy away from being the guy. I don't think Blake has shied away from that at all. Not in a cocky way, but in a confident way. I know what kind of skills I have. I know what kind of leader I can be. And I think for the game 1 result, that's about as good as he could have wanted to put on tape tonight.
So Blake Shapen gets set to head to Provo, Utah, with the west of his Baylor offense and Baylor team. You can't forget about Baylor's running game either. The second half, they were on fire, Chad, and they had 5 different guys get the ball over the end zone.
Yeah, it was a disappointing running result in the first half. Came out determined to put the ball on the ground in the second half and really got after it. A lot of guys getting touches. We see the 2 quarterbacks with some touchdown runs there as well. The big reverse was a big play too. But the offensive line, the progress of that group after what was a poor first half with them coming into this game, advertising one of the best offensive line units in all of college football, they really stepped it up in the second half.
All right, let's get it down to Shane Sparks with Coach Aranda.
All right, Coach, congratulations. Very efficient offensively, running and passing. What impressed you most as this game developed?
I just thought that we stayed on schedule in terms of not playing outside of ourselves, just letting the game come to us, not try to make every play, not try to be everywhere at once, just kind of do our 111th, which we talked about that quite a bit, so it was good to see.
Chad talked about during the broadcast, you guys wanted some progress. Happy about the win, but you saw progress in a lot of areas. What really stood out to you?
We had a lot of guys play tonight, and so for a lot of them, it was the first time ever playing in a college football game, and so I think we can build off of that. I think we had guys that were in leadership roles for the first time tonight, and we can play off of that. So I think the growth of the team, way cool to see.
Next week, a test. You'll go play BYU. What excites you most about a big challenge?
I think it's just another step in the journey, man. I think, you know, to get to know this team a little bit more and for them to earn the trust of their teammates a little bit more, for guys to show out tonight and earn a little bit more respect because of their sacrifice and what they put into all of it. It's all part of it. And I think to be able to take that on the road to Utah, we're excited for that.
Always appreciate your time. Congratulations, Coach.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to bring the quarterback in, Blake Shapen, and we're going to get the camera guy over here to...
it's like the Merv Griffin show down there.
All right. Hey, congratulations. You guys lost a lot of talent on offense from a year ago, but tonight you ran the ball, you passed the ball. What were you most proud of?
I was proud how we just executed. We did the simple things better. We were able to come out and line up, do all the little things that are right for us, and we were able to execute, and that's what I was most excited about.
You have a young receiving core. What were some things you did during camp that really paid dividends tonight, and you expect moving forward will do the same?
Well, they showed up every single day ready to work. They showed up ready to work hard. I expect more than great things along the season as the season goes on, so I'm so proud of them and how they work.
Where do you think you improved the most personally?
I'd say mentally and being able to be smart, being able to understand what the defense is doing pre-snap. So.
Next week, road test at BYU. What's got you jacked up about heading to Utah?
Just another week. I'm excited to get to work with these guys, and have another great week.
Well, congratulations. Nice win tonight. Enjoy.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much.
All right, Shane, thanks a lot. A lot of dancing tonight for the Baylor Bears from the Baylor line from the start. And we talked about 5 different players scoring touchdowns on the ground, and we just heard from Blake Shapen, Chad.
Blake Shapen was dynamic. This team is headed in the right direction. It's going to be a tough contest for them next week against BYU, but the progress and the results were there tonight.
Once again, our final score here in Waco, 69-10 for my partners Chad Brown and Shane Sparks and our entire Big 12 Now crew. I'm Pete Souza. Good night from Baylor.